Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Oppler, the president of the National Association of Realtors and a realtor from Franklin Lakes, New Jersey. I want to thank you all for joining us for Hope Rising, an event to commemorate the Realtors Relief Foundation's 20th anniversary. And thank you to the NAR Ensemble for that beautiful rendition of America the Beautiful under the guide of Ziggy Zigarelli, who's been here for us forever with the ensemble. We're here today in Faison Firehouse Theater in beautiful New York City. This building has seen a lot of stories, and not just the one that's been told on its stages, because before it was a converted theater, it was a working New York City firehouse. I don't know what you all just felt, but watching that and being taken back 20 years, if you were in New York today, you would have the same weather, the same blue skies. Everything was the same as it was 20 years ago. And ironically, this morning, my daughter, who works down in that area of New York City, sent me some pictures of all the newscasts setting up for tomorrow's 20th anniversary. It really is 20 years. And that's why we're here today. That day made us feel something we never felt before. We weren't safe in our own country. None of us felt safe in our own homes. And we all know what home means because as realtors, that's the important part of what we do. So when you think about what happens in the next 2 hours and some of the best people you'll ever meet, Lee Brown, Mike Ford, Craig Wilburn, Dave Lagaz, Janelle Brevard, and all of you, we're going to tell stories, and we're going to make you feel what happened in 9/11, but more importantly, why we're here today, to try to raise as many funds as we can so we're there for members and the public, for those that need assistance in a time of need. Immediately after 9/11, NAR created the Realtors Relief Foundation, which received more than $8.4 million in donations from realtors across the country. That money was then dispersed to those victims of 9/11 that were in danger of not being able to pay their mortgage or rent. And that was just the beginning. Since then, the Realtors Relief Foundation has helped more than 18,000 families in 38 states and territories and stepped up to provide over $33 million in support for over 100 natural disasters. And most recently, the devastation in Louisiana and right here in New York and New Jersey from Hurricane Ida. And we've all seen those images, how heartbreaking they were again. For all of us in the metropolitan area, we never imagined we'd see something as devastating as Superstorm Sandy almost 10 years ago, but that's what it felt like. Now, you're all here joining us, and we're so thankful that you could do that, but we're going to be here for long past the next 20 years, helping people regardless of the size of the community, the size of the area that's damaged. We want to be here all together for all those challenging times. And we'd love to have more of you with us here in New York City, and we know that you're out there virtually and in spirit with us, but you can rest assured that every part of today is being executed with COVID compliance in mind. We've had masks, we've had everything done to the T here in the studio because it's that important and we don't want any more disasters to go with COVID. I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. As we go through the afternoon, the difficulty that we share nowhere compares to the over 3,000 families that lost loved ones that day. We can never even begin to tell that story. But we can tell you the Realtors Relief Foundation story over the last 20 years and why it's so important and what the direction of what we plan to do going into the future. So this is an important afternoon. It's just one part of the Hope Rising campaign, which has been in process since earlier in the year and will continue through 2021, and quite frankly, will continue forever. The National Association of Realtors is the largest trade group in the United States. There's over 1.5 million of us. Donating's easy. Your donations today and the donations you've already made will have a very real impact on people across the country, some that we may not even know. I want to leave you with one thought, and you can also follow us on the social media hashtag RRF Hope Rising. Think about the 4 planes in 2001. Think about the one plane that you had heroes on that plane actually bring down a plane in the middle of Pennsylvania that was headed for the White House or headed for the Pentagon again. And you had 100 stories that we've all heard, but one resonates with me. There was a guy on the plane by the name of Todd Beamer who was on the phone with his family during those times. And to save lives everywhere, the famous words from him were, "Let's roll." So us today, our team, let's roll and give you as much as we can of ourselves. This may not be the most exciting presentation because 9/11 isn't an exciting event. The Realtors Relief Foundation isn't exciting. It's necessary. And thank you for everything that you've done, everything that you're going to continue to do. We're everywhere. We're realtors. We're your neighbors and your friends. So let's take a look.
My name is Carol Christensen. I live in Connecticut, and I'm a realtor.
My name is Dave Walsh, and I'm a realtor from San Jose, California.
I'm Dee Dee Miller from the great state of Maryland. I am a realtor.
My name is Drew Coleman, and I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I'm a realtor.
I'm Robert Walkowitz in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I am a realtor.
I'm Sue Miller from McHenry, Illinois, and I'm a realtor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janelle Brevard, NAR's Chief Storyteller. Thanks so much for joining us today. At NAR, we believe storytelling is woven into the fabric of our business. Today, I'd like to share a different kind of story with you. I'll start by introducing you to Daniel Murphy. Daniel is a New York City-based muralist, and over the course of this afternoon, he'll be creating a visual story for us, which will commemorate this very important day. We'll be checking in with Daniel throughout this event to see this story unfold. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and please donate today. And now I'd like to introduce you to Craig Wilburn. Take it away, Craig.
Hi all, I'm Craig Wilburn. I'm one of the chairs of the 2021 Hope Rising campaign, and I'm also a realtor from Florida, a state all too familiar with some of the natural disasters which the Realtors Relief Foundation has assisted over the past 20 years. I know it's already been said, thanks so much for being a part of this incredible afternoon. We're so glad you're here. The first thing I want to do is I want to introduce you to the Jamboree All-Stars. They are tonight's virtual house band. As you know, the RRF has helped thousands of people across the United States in the wake of disaster and tragedy. That's something the All-Stars have some experience with themselves. Check it out.
Hi, my name is Jabari Clay, and I'm the lead vocalist of the music director of the Jamboree All-Star Band. And we're so happy to be here with you in the celebration of the Realtors Relief 20th anniversary commemorative event, Hope Rising. I'm here with some of my bandmates. Would you all like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Luke Dervo.
Where are you from?
I'm from Haiti.
My name is Melody. I'm from Tacoma, Washington.
My name is Indigo Jones, and I am from Dallas, Texas.
Hey, I'm Shazden, and I'm from Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be a part of this event, having been personally impacted by Hurricane Andrew in 1992. My family members were in South Florida, and they lost everything, memories, antiques, personal things that you could not get back. Fortunately, my family was able to house them, and they were able to move to Orlando. Like the real estate relief has done for so many others. I'm gonna let my band share some of their personal stories with y'all.
Well, it was my first time dealing with natural disasters back in 2017, actually. I lost light for like 2 weeks. So then like food, you know, I had to replace a lot of stuff. And, you know, sometimes being stuck in the house or being stuck in someone else's house, you know, you just can't. Yeah, it's really like, okay, at least I was still able to get food in my belly and have somewhere to lay. It was very new and tragic for me. So
I was in a similar experience, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So I had come to South Florida as well to do an acting job, and we were in actor housing, and Hurricane Irma was coming through. And so they had to evacuate us to a hotel. And then the first day we got to the hotel, we lost power.
Wow.
So we're like all these people in a hotel, no power, no AC, no hot water, you know?
Wow.
It was pretty crazy. Eventually the storm passed after about a week, and it was really awesome to kind of see the community come together, like, you know, just removing debris from the streets and helping people put their homes back together, and, you know, potluck dinners, everybody's like cooking for each other and trying to come together. It was really awesome to see that. So, we've all had those moments where we're kind of affected by these natural disasters, and it kind of brings us together.
It does, yeah. That's true.
Can we undo what's already done? Can we stop before it ever started? But I see the party. We were saying we're just friends, yeah, I was all about it. We were walking on dry land, and now it's over. And now we're back to drowning. And now we're back to drowning. Can't stay here, we want to lie. Grab my hands, baby, breathe for life. We're barely treading waters. There's no way we're gonna make it to the end. Is this all over? Just remember I said I was in. No need for drowning. And now I'm drowning. And now I'm drowning. We're holding our breath in our own lives. You know we're not living right. This won't survive. The pressure's taking us under. Ooh, I have to love you harder. The world blows us away. It feels like it's here to stay. And now we're back to drowning. And now we're back to drowning. And now we're back to drowning, drowning. And now we're back to drowning.
Hello, friends. I'm Lee Brown, and I'm the Vice President of the REALTORS Relief Foundation. The All-Stars were amazing. So glad to have you and hear your story with us today, because that was so perfect. We're so glad that you joined the Realtor family for the purposes of the foundation. y'all, throughout the afternoon, you're going to be hearing from your peers, from realtors around the country who have lived through states and communities that have been hammered by natural disasters. They've seen and been a physical, active part of the relief that the Realtors Relief Foundation has provided with your help and with your gift. This one is very important to me because it's my friend Sophia Crisp from Greensboro, North Carolina. She and I are both realtors in the Tar Heel State, and you're going to want to listen to everything she has to say. Take it away, Sophia.
We had several devastating hurricanes, as well as a tornado touchdown in Greensboro, which is my home city. This tornado touched down April 15th, 2018, in the poorest zip code in the city, and they were the least prepared. And within a day or two, we had a station set up with realtor volunteers who were taking applications for financial assistance with rent or mortgages, and it was quick and it was meaningful and impactful, and it really made a statement about realtors and what we care about. We're not just about getting you in a home, we care that you stay in your home and you're safe. The impact on the community was huge. I like to think that realtors were the rock stars of the disaster relief, because unlike a FEMA or some other larger federal foundation or organization that formally assists with disasters, realtors got on the ground quickly. We actually received money from the local foundation as well as state foundation and NAR, so to the tune of almost $800,000 between all those disasters. It shows that we care and we're willing to put our time and our dollars to work in the community when it is needed, when a disaster strikes. And we all know it's not a matter of if something's going to happen, it's when. And we just responded so quickly, and it really elevated the profile of realtors in our community. The mayor even talks about how quickly realtors got boots on the ground, got together. We got a command center, for lack of a better word, for people to come and feel welcomed. So I think the motivation behind our association's decision to invest in RRF's 20th anniversary campaign was the blessings and the benefits that we have received because of the foundation. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Sophia. 20 years ago, the Realtors Relief Foundation was founded as an immediate response to the events of 9/11. It took enormous vision and the will to create this organization, which has grown exponentially since then. Today, we want to look back on the earliest days of the foundation and the founding four, the leadership team from 2001, President Richard Mendenhall, President-elect Martin Edwards, First Vice President Kathy Watley, and Treasurer Pat Kaplan were so instrumental in making this all happen. And though Martin can't be with us today, we want him to know how important he is to us, and we just wish him good health and wish he could be here. This previously recorded panel was moderated by none other than Janelle Brevard. Thank you all for being part of this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janelle Brevard, NAR's Chief Storyteller. I'm honored today to be joined by several founding members of the Realtors Relief Foundation. Richard Mendenhall served as NAR's 2001 president. Kathy Watley served as 2001 first vice president, and Pat Kaplan, of course, was the 2001 treasurer. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for your service to NAR. I'd like to jump in with a few questions right away, if that's okay.
Sure.
Richard, I will start with you. September 11th was a day that truly changed the world, a tragedy we will never forget. Can you take us back to that moment, please?
I had had a double hernia operation the day before, and I was laying in bed, and I was in a lot of pain, and my wife came up and told me to turn on the TV, and I said, I'm not turning on the TV, and she just gave me that look and said, turn on the TV, and I did, and probably like everybody else in the country, in the world, I just stared there in total disbelief and watched the TV for at least an hour, and then something happened to me. Something just clicked in. It was my military training, and I said, "Oh my gosh, we're under attack," you know, and I got to do something, you know, and I'm going, what can I do? You know, I'm president of NAR, and I just got to do something. Well, the first thing that kicked in is I got to find out where the team is, and so we all started making calls. I mean, you know, I found Martin Edwards, I think, actually got a hold of me, and he was driving. He was a president-elect at the time, and he was driving back to his home in Memphis, and he had been speaking in Alabama. And then I couldn't reach Kathy, and I couldn't reach Walt McDonald, and then I thought, well, I just need to call the offices, and then I found out that Pat, you were at home, I believe, that you weren't traveling, and Kathy was stranded in Washington D.C. and they were working on trying to get her, you know, hotels. So I knew they were fine, and then I found out that Walt McDonald, who was first vice president-elect, that he had actually been on an airplane in LA, and they pulled the airplane back to the terminal. So now I knew everybody was okay, except I'm looking for Terry McDermott, who was the association executive at the time. And I don't know who told me, but I found out that he had been down in southern Maryland at a real estate, you know, function there, and he was driving back, but there was no cell towers, you know, on the east. So that's how it started for me. You know, it was like, okay, make sure the team's okay. Then I called, I can't remember which one I called first, to be honest about it, but I think I called Washington, D.C. because we were hearing all of that and the Pentagon being hit. And I told the people that, you know, I got a hold of whoever the operator was, and I said, how's everybody doing? And they said they were scared. I don't remember exactly, but I said, well, just go home. And they said, well, we haven't heard from anybody yet. I said, just look, it's okay. You know, just tell everybody to go home, because that's where we all want to be, you know, in the middle of something like this. And then I got a hold of Chicago, because I was thinking about the Sears Tower at the time, thinking, you know, that could get hit. And I did the same thing. I said, send everybody home, because, and it was really interesting, because a few people there said, no, we got to man the phones. This is where people will call. So, you know, they did send people home. And then I just kept, so that was done. And I kept thinking to myself, we've got to do something. We've got to do something. And being a military guy, I thought if there was an armory around, I'd issue weapons to all the realtors, but didn't do that, you know, and I just kept thinking we have to do something. And so then I got a hold of Frank Sibley, and Frank Sibley was our communication, I believe that was the title at the time, director. And I said, Frank, I said, we have to do something. And Frank said, what are you talking about? And I said, I don't know. I said, we have to take some action, some kind of action. And I said, you think about it, I'll think about it, and let's get back together, and we'll see who else we can get on the phone, you know, at that point in time. So it was the next day in which we realized that the people were going to lose their homes, that the people who were in those towers and those other places were probably the breadwinners of the family, you know, and making the most dollars. And that we, you know, what we could do is help them, you know, with their home payments until this all straightened out, you know, or figured out. And that's when, you know, we started talking about it. I still hadn't heard from Terry. He said he was going to talk to Terry. And, you know, I remember some things I said once we started the relief fund. The only thing I said at the time is that I didn't want a single penny to be spent on our own promotion of whatever we did. It all would go to the victims. And then I asked that Pat, you know, put a group together. She was a treasurer, you know, of past treasurers or whoever, you know, to make sure that they monitored the money, and that was, you know, that was straight. But that's how it kind of got started. And then real quickly, Terry McDermott, you know, got back to probably DC or wherever. And it wasn't long before all the officers got together, and we realized we had at least $1 million excess, because it had been a good year, you know, for membership. And we all just said, we're going to put $1 million into the fund. We didn't wait for a board of directors meeting or any of that. We just said, we've got to get the fund started. And then Terry McDermott called some people he knew at Fannie Mae, and they put another $1 million into the fund, and that's how it started. And I could talk a lot longer, but you know, let Pat and and Kathy's, they both have better memories than I do, and will, can remark on what else happened.
That is absolutely remarkable to hear you tell that story in your words. Kathy, I'd like to turn to you for a moment because Richard mentioned just now that you were actually in the Washington, D.C. area the day of the attack. Can you tell us about that moment and what happened and what transpired while you were in D.C.?
Sure, Janelle. It was one of those days where you find yourself kind of outside of anything you've ever experienced. I was flying to Connecticut and had a layover in Washington, D.C. I was only going to be there for an hour. And when I got there, I was there for about 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, someone said, "Look out the window, you can see all of this smoke." And there weren't TV monitors or anything around at that time. So I really didn't know anything that had happened at the Twin Towers. And as I was walking toward the window and could see the smoke, they came over the loudspeaker and said, "The airport is being evacuated." And so everybody starts heading out of the airport, and I've got my little computer roller bag, and I walk out the front door, and I think to myself, where am I going to go? And so I just started walking in one direction. I thought maybe I'll just go find a hotel and I'll see if I can get in touch with NAR. And when I got to the hotel, the lobby was filled with people who thought they were checking out were back at the front desk saying, "We're not checking out." People who thought they were checking in would not have a room. By the time I got to the front desk, the person looked at me like I was crazy, thinking I was going to get a room there. And so I began to get on the telephone, and that was the first time I even knew that there had been anything to happen at the Twin Towers. So when the clerk told me there wasn't a chance, I thought, well, I will see if I can walk to another hotel. Maybe it'll be a little bit better there. And I remember walking outside. I walked about half a block, and all of a sudden there were two airplanes that flew lower than any planes I've ever seen fly over a flyover at a football game. And people that were in their cars are yelling, "Get down, get down." And so I turned around and immediately walked back to the hotel. Traffic became horrendous. When Richard said he told the staff to go home, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know that the cars could get anywhere because it literally was so crazy in DC. And thankfully, by a couple of hours later, the staff had located a hotel pretty far out. The problem was finding a way to get there. And about 6 or 7 hours later, I was standing outside still waiting to see if there was someone that might take, transportation. And a gentleman said, "Would you like to ride?" And I thought to myself, if I get in the car, number one, what will my husband think? Because I was traveling by myself, and my husband was really distraught. But I thought, you trust people. And so I got in the car. The cab driver wasn't even a cab driver. And the gentleman who I rode with said, "I want you to take this lady. We're going to go to her hotel first," even though it was way outside of the direction he was going. And in that ride to the hotel, he shared with me that he was supposed to have been in New York that morning. His office was in the Twin Towers, and most of his colleagues had perished. And, like Richard said, you just want to be home. And it took me 4 days to be able to get home. The airport was closed, couldn't get my luggage, so had no clothes. Restaurants were closed. When I finally was able to get my luggage, it was the biggest crazy security thing that you can even imagine. And when they finally opened up, they didn't open up Reagan National for quite some time. They opened up the Baltimore BWI airport. And I can remember I had a flight, went to the airport, sat there, and they continued to cancel flight after cancel. Mine was supposed to be the last one out. It got canceled. But you could see people who had been at the airport, who'd really, tried so hard to have the stiff upper lip through all of this. But as their flights got canceled, they just melted. They just didn't know how they were going to make it anymore. And these are people whose families weren't even affected. We were just affected. And all I could think about was, what about those people whose families were in this whole horrific incident? And how are they dealing with it? And Richard and Martin and Pat were just tremendous in, bringing this whole idea forward of helping people with housing, because that's what we do. And that's the only place we wanted to be.
Wow, that's something to hear you tell that story. Pat, I want to turn to you because you were the treasurer at that time. Richard talked about sort of calling everyone when he first saw what was happening. I want to hear your account as treasurer, and also if you could just comment on something he said, he kept saying actually several times, was, we have to do something. And so I want to hear your perspective on that.
Well, it was a very interesting day here in Portland, Oregon. And just like Kathy and Richard talked about, we were all in different locations. And for some reason, there was a little angel on my shoulder, and I happened to be home. I was not supposed to be home. I had been asked to please visit a Northern California Association meeting, and they had asked me 3 times. And my husband had asked me not to do it because on September 12th was our 20th wedding anniversary. And I had traveled so much that he really would like us home, and he had a special event planned. So I said no, which is very difficult for me. Those who know me know I don't use that word often, but I think that little angel kept me at home, and all I wanted to do is gather my children and husband around me and appreciate that we still existed. But I'll go on to we have to do something. It didn't surprise me when Richard called me. It was the second call I got. The first one was from my family on the East Coast. I live in Portland and they all live in Virginia. And they called me, and my sister was literally in tears, and she went, "Oh, thank heavens, you're in Portland, you're home." She called on the landline because we still use those 40 years ago, right? So once she had me turn on the TV and watch all the events, I had managed to wake up enough so when Richard's call came, I was awake. I was so grateful I was home, and I was grateful that Richard was checking in on all of us, because that's how your NAR officers are. We are a family, and an extended family with the staff and all of us who take care of each other. So Richard started talking about, we're going to do something. We have to do something. And I'm trying to remember if it was the first call or the second call, but the moment he came up with what was then the Realtor Relief Fund, the ideas just started flowing. And as treasurer, I knew that I had to set up some protective guidelines, that we were responsible for making sure the money was as secure as possible, and that all the money donated would go to victims, that we wouldn't use any of the money to run the foundation or the fund at that time. So I remember Richard and I specifically talked about who to ask to serve on that foundation. And at that time he said, I think the most respected money people in the association are those who have served in your position, who have been past treasurers. And so that's where it started. And then we pulled in, of course, our wonderful finance staff and got on board with a title company, because we wanted to make sure that the mortgage payments we were paying were real, and that the checks would be made out jointly to the banks and the holder of the mortgage. And we just set up a great system. We wanted to react fast, We wanted to be on the ground, and we wanted it to be the NAR Realtor Relief Fund. We were very careful that no one became the fund spotlight or the spokesperson for the fund. It was the Realtor Fund. So in setting up all those guidelines, I was really pleased at how well of a partnership we had to make sure that applications were looked at thoughtfully, how the checks were delivered were by the local realtors, and that took quite a toll on them as well. And looking at the applications was only something you could do for a short period of time. I still remember my hardest one that I looked at, and it was from the mother of one of the victims. And she wrote me a letter and I said, I don't own a home. I have no other children. I am partially disabled. My son, who was killed in the Twin Tower, was my sole support. I know your fund is for people in their homes. Would you be willing to help me pay my rent? Her rent was so nominal. I remember conferring with the CFO at the time and saying, can we just pay her rent for a year and let her get on her feet? And we did. But I guess the things that remain real to me is how caring we all were, how we looked each other in the eye wherever we went after that. Every person was no longer a stranger. There was someone we cared about. And those thoughts actually mirror a bit of how I felt during this COVID pandemic. And it makes you proud that you exist. It makes you proud that you're able to do something. And I'm really proud of what we did.
Wow. Richard, Pat just described sort of that realtor spirit when she was talking just now. And I wanted to hear you just speak on that, because from what I understand, in that those first few days after the attack, about 8.5 million was raised and distributed. And I just wanted to hear you speak to what compelled realtors to get involved, and once they heard the call to action, to do something.
Well, nobody will ever convince the three of us that the realtors don't have a heart. We saw it as big as it could ever be. And to be honest, at the point in time when we got to about $4 million, nobody had applied for the money. And I sort of freaked out. I thought, we've done something here and it's not working. And so I remember making a call to a friend of mine, and I don't remember whether it was New Jersey or, no, it was actually New York. And I said, what's going on? How come nobody's applied for the money? He said, Richard, you don't understand. And I said, what do I not understand? Because that money came really fast. And he said, they're not willing to accept the fact that their loved ones have died yet. You know, I mean, that's exactly what he told me. And I said, oh, and I hoped he was right. And within a short time after that, the applications started coming in. We paid out every application we got. And a credit to the people on the committee, staff that Pat put together and the leadership team approved, was that it didn't matter what their payment was or their rent was, that we were going to pay 3 months of that rent to get them to going. And then the other thing they did that most people would have forgotten about, which I thought was brilliant, is they made it in 3 checks. Because if you send 1 check to the bank, they'll credit the balance to principal, and it's only 1 payment. So then the other call I got was from another friend who just called me up and told me how hard it was to deliver the checks, and that he made a suggestion that 2 people go instead of just 1, so they could support each other. And he gave me an example of going down some brownstones in New York, and he got there, and here was this woman sitting outside the brownstone on the steps with I think it was 2 kids beside her, and she was pregnant. And he almost lost it, completely, because he delivered those 3 checks and everybody was just bawling, because of the emotion. And that's when he suggested we ought to send 2 people, and we absolutely, agreed to that. The realtors came up to me afterwards, and the most common thing they said to me, because the real estate business just stopped, it came to a total halt. Nobody was doing anything. And the most common thing that was said to me is, you gave me something to focus on. Well, it wasn't me, it was the leadership team. It's the people you're interviewing right now. We all did this together. This isn't just because I was president. That's not the big deal here. We all did. Lots of people got involved, and people were focused on something. I mean, I had a realtor that would usually set up some kind of a booth at a local fair, and made the whole thing about the relief fund, and gathered up all the money and sent it in. And just even some young boy was riding with his mother on the East Coast somewhere and heard about it and asked his mom if he could send in some money. And I don't know what it was, $5, $10, I mean, it worked. And the last thing is that when we got to the November convention, some people came up and said to me, Richard, nobody knows what we've done. And I said, and I just took responsibility for it. I said, I had just asked that not a single penny be spent on our own self-promotion. And I hope that you can go home, and sleep, with that, and knowing that you did that. And they just would look at me and go, you're right. You're right. I said, this isn't about promotion. This is about trying to help people. And I was so proud. I just, to this day, it's just, like I said, nobody can ever convince me that the realtors don't have a heart and soul and really care about, their clients and people in the country.
That's beautiful. Kathy, I want to ask you about, sort of fast forward a bit to 20 years later, about 33 million has been raised and distributed, helping people through over 100 disasters from what I've read. Did you ever imagine that it would grow to this?
Well, when we set it up, we weren't thinking about anything except the particular scenario that we were dealing with. But it isn't a surprise. When realtors care, they find a way to reach out and help. We were first responders in that scenario of 9/11. Many of the families that got their first money came when that realtor delivered those checks. It didn't come from the Red Cross. It didn't come from some of the other charitable entities that were raising funds to ultimately help them, but it was from the Realtor Association. And I think the strength of that message resonated in the group, Pat and others who were cheering it, Martin Edwards, who isn't in this conversation today, but he truly has been a champion of the Realtors Relief Fund and now the Realtors Relief Foundation. They found ways to enhance and expand opportunities to help families, no matter what the natural disaster was or is. And, we've had plenty of them, unfortunately. And it appears that based upon the statistic that there will be many more. So I applaud every single person who stands up and does something that assists the Realtors Relief Foundation emotionally, financially, however they lend their spirit, because there is really a strong realtor spirit that runs through this entire foundation.
Well said. Pat, I want to turn to you now because we've talked a lot about how the Realtors Relief Foundation got its start. But are there any moments over the last 20 years outside of the start that sort of stand out for you and that have made an impression? Any of the events that have happened since 2001?
Yes, there have been several, in fact. We had, when Hurricane Katrina occurred, the foundation swooped in and just totally did everything we could as quickly as we could. And while I wasn't physically there, the members of the Florida Association who did help deliver those checks and help the victims of that horrible hurricane, Florida and New Orleans, I can remember their passion and frankly, their sorrow when they called me and talked to me about what they were doing and what the foundation was allowing them to do. So we've done Hurricane Katrina, we've done forest fires, we've done the Gulf floods. We've just had so many of them, and it's sad that the world has so many natural disasters. But I will say that every time there is a disaster, we're there. And I am so pleased that our members just step right in and take charge and do everything they can. I think some of them are doing Zoom calls when they can to help people go through the application process, which is actually very simple. But there's been so many, and maybe I like to not dwell on them because they're so hard and difficult, but I think more the response from our members who deal with the victims one-on-one is what sticks with me the most, and the heartfelt compassion that they have.
Well, I have one final question for all of you. The founders have come together as honorary chairs of the 20th anniversary campaign. I just want to start with you, Richard. Has this been reminiscent of old times? What's that been like coming together for this campaign?
It's heartwarming. I wasn't on the group that said we're going to do something for this 20th. And when I got the call that they were, and they were really working hard on this, I just felt I got goosebumps. I'm the kind of guy that gets emotional at supermarket openings. So I just got goosebumps, and was very proud and honored to do it, and proud to serve with Pat and Martin also. Martin's not out of this. He's just having some difficult times, right now. And Kathy has just been great. And she went to work in Florida, and the money's flowing in, and it's just absolutely heartwarming.
Kathy, how has it been, all of you coming together again?
That's a great question, Janelle, but in my mind, we never went apart. We didn't happen to serve together year in and year out, but the amount of time that you spend together as a leadership team builds such a family bond that it's an extraordinary opportunity. It's really a privilege to get to experience that while you're doing everything that you can to make the members' lives successful and have a good regulatory and advocacy environment that you work in. So it's not surprising that we would all want to participate in this particular reflection on what happened 20 years ago, because it was very raw and very real then. And it's still pretty raw today when you think about it.
And Pat, what about you? How has that been?
Well, I think that the foundation itself has just made me incredibly proud of our organization, proud of our human kindness. I would like to give a shout out though to Martin Edwards, because after chairing the fund, it was at that time, I was the chair for 6-7 years, and Martin became the next chair of the fund. And it was Martin who said, Pat, we've been relying on getting donations from realtors by just asking them. We need to grow this up. We need to make this much more fundraising. And it was under Martin that they started auctions, that they started events at the conventions where more realtors got involved and broadened the capacity. So Martin, I want to thank him for his foresight because he drilled it down to the everyday realtor, not just those active in the local association or who had been affected by the donations. So I'm very proud of what we've grown up to be. I would have never have thought it would have had to respond to so many tragedies. But again, what a family.
What a family. Richard, would you like to give us a final thought in terms of what realtors can do to get involved in this current campaign? How can they support these families?
I want to make one last, I will do that. But let me throw in one other thing. A year after 9/11, Martin Edwards and myself were invited to go to the Smithsonian American History Museum because they were putting together, an exhibit for 9/11. And as president, I received letters from the people who had gotten their payments and how grateful they were. Turned them all over to NAR, and NAR turned all of those over to the Smithsonian. This event is recorded. And what I remember, there were only maybe there were like 5 rows of seats with maybe not more than a dozen people could sit in each row. And I just felt, I don't know why I was sitting there. Martin and I were sitting there, and all of a sudden I realized who was sitting in front of me. We were maybe on the 3rd row back. And in front of us were mothers, father, and kids of families that had lost their loved ones. That was hard. That was really hard. But at the same time, it was absolutely incredible to know what the realtors had done. And I have every faith that we will do this again. We don't have a crisis in front of us, but we know the statistics. We know what we've done for the last 20 years.
Well, thank you all. This has truly been an honor for me. And as NAR's chief storyteller, I want to thank you for sharing what has truly been a story of resilience and determination and really compassion for fellow men. So thank you so much. And thank you for everyone watching.
Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you.
That was amazing to just listen to Kathy, Richard, and Pat speaking about what happened and how this all happened. They truly are the heart and soul of the Realtors Relief Foundation, along with Martin. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Pat. And thank you, Richard. For me, and I know for so many of us, they are role models in leadership and how to handle crisis situations. I can't think of a better group of 4 people that led this organization at that point in time. But I want you to know the current leadership of NAR and the Realtors Relief Foundation is also an amazing group and committed to this foundation. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge their commitment to the Realtors Relief Foundation, as well as their generous donations. Our NAR leadership team, your current leaders of the board of directors, I'd like to name each of them. President-elect Leslie Ruda Smith, First Vice President Kenny Parcell, Nancy Lane, Treasurer, and Vince Malta, immediate past president. And your 2 vice presidents, Lee Brown, Vice President of Government Affairs, and Tommy Choi, Vice President of Committees, and our CEO, Bob Goldberg. Also, the Realtors Relief Foundation Board of Directors this year has done an incredible job. They've opened their hearts in terms of not just donation, but their passion and support for everything that we do. Mike Ford, Chair, Lee Brown, Vice Chair, Martin Edwards, Bob Caldwell, David Sharon, Travis Kessler, Nancy Lane, Shanta Patton, and Gary Rogers. Both these leadership groups have 100% participation and over $31,000. Just amazing, and thank you. All of you have given your time, your energy, your support, and for me, without any hesitation, to help us put this together for the Realtors Relief Foundation. We hope you will too. Make your donation, make your contribution. Now I'll turn it over to Mike Ford.
Thank you, Charlie. And for all of you that know me, you know it's not uncommon for me to veer from the script, so I'm going to do so right now. And I just want you to know, if you've ever questioned about why you're a realtor, I hope that you listened to Martin, Kathy, and Pat. My entire soul is swelled with pride for being a part of the realtor family after listening to their stories. So if you've ever questioned about why you're a realtor, that should have answered every question that you have. Realtors respond, and we respond when it's necessary. It is my great honor to have the privilege to serve this year as the president of the Realtor Relief Foundation. And I want to thank each of you who are out there today for taking the time to attend this 20th anniversary opportunity. And Charlie, this event wouldn't be possible without you. You've taught us all what it means to lead before the need and to lead by example. And you have set an example that all realtor leadership should follow all across this country. The donations from the Realtor Relief Foundation were from the heart and without hesitation of every member of the Realtor Relief Foundation, and I know that to be the same truth for all of Charlie's leadership team. Now I want to take a moment and talk to you for a minute about the Texas Realtors Association, our lead investor. They stepped up to make an investment of $200,000 back in March, which kicked everything into high gear. That commitment set the tone for other associations and other realtors to be inspired to give and to invest in the Realtor Relief Foundation. Unfortunately, Texas is no stranger to natural disasters. They've suffered a snowstorm this past winter, and for all my friends out in Colorado, that might not be a natural disaster, but I guarantee you in Texas it was a natural disaster. Now it's my honor to introduce my friend and fellow Realtor Relief Foundation board member, Travis Kessler, the CEO of the Texas Association of Realtors and the chair of the Texas board, Marvin Jolly, and the Governmental Affairs Director, Trey Bates, to talk about their experience with Hurricane Harvey and the role that the Realtor Relief Foundation played in their recovery. That provided hope to families who were affected.
Greetings from Austin, Texas. We are so pleased to be part of this initiative today. I am personally a proud contributor to the foundation, and I know our great state of Texas is as well. Thank you for having us, and we wish you well in this endeavor, and best wishes to each one of you. We can do this, and we can raise $8.5 million.
Hi, I'm Marvin Jolly, chairman of Texas Realtors in 2021, and Texas is a big fan of the Realtor Relief Foundation.
Hello from Texas. This is Trey Bates, and I'm so glad to be here today to celebrate the Realtor Relief Foundation and the Realtor family.
Texas was motivated to step up in a big way for the 20th anniversary of the Realtors Relief Foundation anniversary. And when I say step up in a big way, we became a Founders Club contributor at $200,000. And I have to say that we stepped up in a big way because the Relief Foundation has always been there and available for Texas. Whether we have gone through floods, tornadoes, fires, or hurricanes, over the course of years, we have been the recipient of so many acts of kindness from the Realtors Relief Foundation that it was our way to give back, and we feel very fortunate that we could.
Texas Realtors saw the 20th anniversary campaign of Realtor Relief Foundation as being a really big opportunity for Texas to step up, to show the way, to lead by example, and to put action behind the words for the Realtor Relief Foundation. And it was just our honor and our privilege to be part of such a big milestone in the life of the organization.
I'm excited that Texas Realtors jumped in to support the Realtor Relief Foundation 20th anniversary celebration because we have done so much to support that program, and we've also been the recipient of so much support from realtors all over this country. And it's a wonderful pleasure to be a part of something that does so much good for people all over this country.
You know, when it comes to disasters, we always think it's going to be floods, fires, earthquakes, some kind of natural event. And in Texas, we had a new natural event that we never anticipated. The storm in February that killed the entire power grid in Texas. And we really never anticipated anything to that magnitude. So the lesson that we all need to learn from that is we need to prepare for the inevitable, prepare for things that we never can imagine, because they will happen, and we need to be prepared to help and support our members through any calamity that may happen. So as chairman of Texas Realtors, when we went through the challenge in February, we had members that were looking to the state association for guidance, for support, for resolution, and we were able to reach out to the Realtor Relief Foundation to help solve so many of those problems. So it was such a blessing to have the resources of the Realtor Relief Foundation at our fingertips and available to help Texas members.
I've had the opportunity to serve on the Relief Foundation Board of Directors for many, many years, and it really has changed my life. It's changed my perception of everything about what's done. As I look back every time on the purpose of the foundation, the constant reminder is there of when it was formed and why it was formed. And I look back, and that was 20 years ago, and it was 9/11. And what a lasting impact that's made on my life and my perception of the foundation. I look back on the impact that it had for so many families and so many individuals that received some help. There's a magnitude of need. And when there's a need, it's a huge area of concern, and it's an area and a way we can all help as a realtor organization. As a board member, behind the scenes is such an important part of what the foundation stands for. And behind the scenes, I guess I could describe it as 3 words: effective, streamlined, and efficient. I look at the power and the strength that we have as a realtor organization, and it's all based on the collaboration and the partnership that we have at the local, the state, and the national level. And it's that partnership between all 3 levels of the organization that makes this collaboration work. The partnership really is the strength of our organization. And as we look at the organization and behind the scenes, I'm really proud to say, in being a director member, that I look at the role of the staff. I look at the role and the intent of our other and my fellow board of directors. And I see the care and the passion, the enthusiasm to do what's right at a time of need. And when that need happens, it happens quickly. And this board is nimble. The staff is flexible. And every time there's a request, every time there's a need, this board acts quickly. And so many times there's a need to be one of the first responders out there, the first area of assistance. And that's what this board does. It acts timely, it's relevant, and it's the speed and the organization behind it that has such an impact on the partnership that we have at the local, the state, and the national level.
As I look back on Hurricane Harvey and what happened to all of us that were impacted by the storm, and think back on what happened to me and my family, I came home to a house that was devastated. We'd lost our roof, we'd lost skylights, fencing, everything. But even with that, I was not nearly as impacted as many of those others in our communities that had lost their homes entirely. And so understanding I had stuff to take care of and clean up, I had a number of other responsibilities to my community. I also jumped into action with other members in our realtor board to help with chainsaw crews, to go help others, clear away brush and debris that had occurred after the storm, and to make sure people had access to their homes. I also was fortunate enough at the time to be serving in a leadership role on the board of directors for our Texas Realtors Realtor Relief Foundation, and we were having to make decisions about grant programs and assistance to others in the middle of all of that, and that never stopped. We picked up right when the storm hit. We were prepared, and while I was still wallowing in all of our devastation, we were able to still function and operate as an operating board to make sure that we got assistance to families that needed help. And that was probably one of the most rewarding aspects of having that impact. Yes, it was devastating to us personally. It was a very sad and upsetting event, but the part that warms my heart the most about the Hurricane Harvey episode is that we were able to get behind as Texas Realtors and do what Realtors do and help the communities around us. And I'm so proud of that. I'm proud of what the Realtor Relief Foundation can do to support that. And I was just glad to be a part of that. And it was just such a great experience to be a part of supporting others in our communities like Realtors always do.
This is such an exciting time to be part of the 20th anniversary of the Relief Foundation. And what a pleasure it is. And I will say this on behalf of the foundation. I really like the theme that this is all built around, and that is to honor the past to prepare for the future. And what a great statement that is, because when I think of the Realtors Relief Foundation, I'm reminded about the oath of office that so many of us take as leaders of an organization, whether it be at the local or the state or the national level. And that oath of office, when we take these positions, basically says the secret of living is the art of giving. And so with that message today, no contribution is too small. It's about giving. It's about giving back to our industry and to our profession of what we can do to help with this magnitude of need that's out there for the future. But it's about honoring the past to prepare for the future. And that's what we're all about on the purpose of this foundation. I will say that we all rise by lifting up others. And we're all in this together. And I'm a proud supporter of the foundation and look forward to being part of this 20th anniversary of the Relief Foundation.
When I think about the Realtor Relief Foundation, I think about the same approach that we all use in our daily businesses when we're acting as fiduciaries. We're taking action on behalf of other people, and we're putting our personal interests aside. And the Realtor Relief Foundation is a perfect example of that, where we put our personal needs aside and we help those in need, and we do what's best for them.
I think the best reason why people would want to invest in the Realtor Relief Foundation is because it's a well-operated machine. It has no overhead. All the monies that anybody contributes to this foundation goes to those in need. And if you're looking for something to support, this is the best option that I can think of, that one is able to support those in need directly, and also is a way to help show how realtors can support their communities and make a big impact on those around them. And I love that about the Realtor Relief Foundation.
Congratulations on being part of this great team to achieve an $8.5 million goal. You know, if we each do our part, we can do this. We're in this together. We know and understand the strength of the Relief Foundation. Let's all do our part and achieve an $8.5 million goal. We can do this.
Congratulations, Realtor Relief Foundation. It's exciting to see us reach and stretch for an $8.5 million goal. And I'm excited to see how everybody can pull together and make such a wonderful goal happen. And I'm looking forward to celebrating the fact that we're going to reach that goal. And thank you for everybody's efforts in this entire endeavor. Thank you.
Charlie, I think this is probably a great time for us to check in on how close we are to hitting our goal for the campaign.
I'd love to see where we are. We've had great response, and let's take a look and see where we are. Thank you.
I feel like I should do something here.
Is there a drum roll?
Yeah, over here.
And the Academy, oh, I'm sorry, wrong envelope, please. So far, we have raised $211,023 today with some large gifts. Michigan Realtors, $30,000. South Carolina Realtors, $55,000. And the Chicago Realtors, $100,000. Thank you all. It's just incredible. It's amazing. And yet, if you think about what Richard said earlier, realtors, nothing surprises us. Your support, your passion, and everything that you keep doing, you come through time after time, and it means so much to me. So thank you all.
Yes, it's absolutely incredible. Thank you to all of you out there who are donating. And remember, it's not too late to invest in the RRF today. please take the time to donate. And now I'm going to send it off to my friend and fellow Southerner, Mike Ford.
Yes, fellow Southerner. So I just love to talk Southern, so if you can't figure it out. But, you know, this is something you might not know about me. I'm from the great state of Arkansas, better known as the land of opportunity. We're not the biggest state, not by a long shot, but however, we may have the biggest heart. The Realtors Relief Foundation is important to us as we've seen it raise the hope of families in Arkansas who have suffered through floods and tornadoes. My Arkansas Realtor family sought the opportunity to lead the small state investors. I'm so proud of the $120,000 investment they provided and their additional commitment to invest a total of $250,000 over the next 4 years. Now, let me introduce you to our state president, Bob Dotson, and our CEO and fundraising committee member, Mickey Bass, to talk about why investing in the Realtor Relief Foundation means so very much to Arkansans.
We had, I think, $10,000 in our bank account. A tornado went through and wiped out a town. People were standing on their porches, and about all we could do at the time was go down and hand out $50 Walmart gift cards. Well, shortly after that, Realtor Relief Foundation came through with a grant, and it allowed us to go back to those people, vet them, find out what their needs were, and under the guidance of RRF, provide relief to all of them. We had a homeless person who lost their tent in the tornado, and all they asked for was $50 to buy a tent. So, of course, that was not a problem. But when you see someone as desperate as that, and as humble as they were, you know, from the smallest to the largest grants, it makes us feel very, very humbled and proud that we have the resources that we have to help people. There's been nothing but gratitude. We've had people who have offered testimonials to our state convention before about how Hearts and Homes and Realtor Relief Foundation have helped them, which has really helped in the giving that we have had in the state by realtors, and helped realtors understand what it means whenever we give back. This is the essence of what we do for a living. We sell people homes, and when those people are in need or in trouble, I believe it's our duty to do everything that we can through local, state, and national efforts and give as much to Realtor Relief Foundation as we possibly can.
Thanks so much, Bob and Mickey, for showing us what a difference the RRF can make. Now, we'd like to spend some time with the co-chairs of the Hope Rising campaign. I've really been looking forward to this conversation. You've already met Craig Wilburn, and I'm going to let Charlie introduce his old friend, Dave Lagasse.
Thanks, Janelle. You know, I've known Dave because we're in the same region, Region 2, which is New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and we've both served in leadership for some time. And I've gotten to know Dave over this time period and knew his story. So when we thought about doing the 20th anniversary for the Realtor Relief Foundation, Dave was just somebody that I knew would be instrumental in being part of the process. And when you hear his story, you'll know why. And more importantly, what kind of person he is. And he's compassionate and passionate. He's so giving of his time in so many ways. Realtor safety, as everybody knows, but more importantly, just the quality of the person. So, you know, it's an honor to work with Dave, and also New York State President, NYSAR President in 2021. So, you know, it's one of those things that you look at everything, and there's no better person to be here than Dave.
And Craig, of course, the other co-chair.
Well, you know, Craig and I have gotten to know each other over the years. You know, we talk a lot about family stories and our kids and how important they are to us. But when I think of Craig, I think of somebody who, family first, so caring about other people, and again, passionate about everything he does, but the drive that he has and the energy that he has and the way he connects people. To me, it was another obvious choice when I was trying to put a team together that I would want to have and be his teammate. And I was honored that they both accepted. And I just can't think of two better people to spend time with that do things for other people. And certainly they lead by example.
And I think we were going to start and have Dave just tell us a bit more about your personal story.
I would be honored. And Charlie, thank you for the opportunity to be involved in the Hope Rising campaign and the Realtor Relief Foundation. So as Charlie mentioned, my name is Dave Legaz, and along with Craig, I'm co-chairing the 20th anniversary of the Hope Rising campaign. The Realtor Relief Foundation and this campaign means so much to me because on 9/11 in 2001, I was a member also of the NYPD. We all remember where we were and what we were doing that day. I recall the perfect blue sky morning that turned into the darkest of nights. As an NYPD sergeant, I arrived as the North Tower fell and participated in the search and rescue while I tragically lost my best friend and partner, Officer Brian McDonald, in the fallen tower. We were all covered like ghosts during that rescue in that carcinogenic white dust. I was on the pile for 5 days, and I would sleep only at the St. Paul's Chapel after my long 18-hour shifts. I didn't come home to my family until the 5th day, and immediately had the need and desire to return back to the site. That darkness still lingers for me today and many others affected by 9/11. Thank you for allowing me to tell my story, and thank you, Realtors, for supporting the Realtors Relief Foundation.
Thank you so much, Dave, for sharing that. So heartfelt. And thank you for your service on the front lines that day. Thank you so much. I wanted to mention, I think we talked about this earlier, that's your badge right above your shoulder.
Yes, you wear the badge next to your heart because you care about people, and that's what we do. So thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I'd like to spend a few minutes with the three of you, Charlie, Craig, Dave, just to talk about your experiences with this year's campaign. Charlie, you, of course, have been one of the driving forces of the Hope Rising campaign. I want to start with you. You did introduce them a bit earlier, but I want to hear a bit more about just what made you choose these two. How did you know that they were the right ones for this role?
Well, you look at timing, and it is the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and really the beginning of the Realtors Relief Foundation. And it just happened to be that I'm president this year. So I knew I wanted to have us do something special to make sure that the Realtors Relief Foundation is there for a long time when we're all not here. You know, when it's a next group, and we're going to find that next group of volunteers because that's what realtors do. If you think about it, we ask somebody else to replace us. And we want them to bring the same passion and the same energy. So as we moved along and got into some early stages of planning, and I talked to our leadership team and the foundation board, we started to talk about having an actual drive, and that we should have a couple of co-chairs be the contact and to get this really moving forward. And again, as I said earlier, when I thought of who I'd want to be there, you know, with as teammates, Dave and Craig just, you know, came to my mind immediately for different reasons. But again, everything we do is because of relationships. We all know each other, but we know each other in different capacities at different points in time. And this was a point in time where this was going to be a serious effort to make sure the foundation was there for a long time. And Dave and his experience as a New York City cop, Craig, who I didn't even know was from New York, honestly, until we got here. Hard to imagine that I didn't know that because I just think of Florida when I think of Craig. But it was just, he's a guy that we've just bonded over the years. And, you know, and I just love the effort that the two of them have made. And you just learn to, you know, trust your teammates, if you will. And I trust everybody that's participated here. But as realtors, we trust one another to have each other's back. And that's what this is about.
That's awesome. So Dave, Craig, I want to hear from you. Dave, starting with you, how did you react when you were asked to co-chair this?
I was extremely honored and humbled. 9/11 has always been a dark day in my life, in my family. That anniversary is always hard on us. Though there is a Chinese saying that says, if you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. And if you want happiness for a lifetime, help somebody. So Charlie, thank you for the opportunity, for allowing me to be part of something greater than me. It's truly an amazing opportunity. When the leadership team started this journey and the vision, I was on the pile 20 years ago, not realizing what was happening. So it's a true connection for me, and it makes the darkness that I experience and my family experiences to something that brings hope. So Hope Rising is the perfect name for our campaign. So thank you.
Thanks.
Craig, to you, you know, Charlie Oppler calls and asks you this. How did you react?
Yeah, I was very surprised at first for the phone call, and I had to kind of understand what I was being asked to do. So I asked a lot of questions and said, okay, what do I have to do? My responsibility here, and I have a lot on my plate. So, but once I understood, the opportunity and the calling that this was, because I didn't ask to be here, I was asked to be here, and so I recognized that there was an opportunity for me to have an impact, and it lines up with our mission statement for our business, and that's pointing humanity to God by creating a worldwide culture of giving back. Like that's a part of what we do. And so this was in alignment with that. And so I felt like, wow, what a great platform and opportunity to inspire other people to look beyond themselves and to give back to others when they have the greatest times of need. And we've all, been personally affected or know somebody who's been affected by tragedies that are unexpected. And the Realtor Relief Foundation is just a great tool that we can all have access to be able to support people when they have that need.
Awesome. Now, Dave spoke so eloquently about his experience on 9/11. Craig, living in Florida, you've made that your home. It's a state that's also been tremendously impacted by disasters and aided by the foundation. So can you speak to the RRF's mission and what it means to your state and your community?
Yeah, so Florida is definitely, we're an area that is continually having needs, for different tragedies and things that happen to our state. We are 1,000% committed to RRF. We actually, even in Florida, we have a disaster relief foundation for the state of Florida that is very similar to RRF. And so we actually give a lot of resources to RRF when other states have issues. And actually, I chair that foundation in Florida this year. So Florida is one that's committed to helping other people. Our whole leadership team in Florida, all the district vice presidents and really in the membership. My phone's been blowing up today from all people in Florida that have been really excited, trying to spread the word and get eyes on this platform so that they can make sure that everybody knows that we support what RRF is doing.
That's amazing. So the Realtors Relief Foundation, of course, was started by responding within hours of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The founding four, we heard from three of them earlier, they have described feeling just a deep sense of urgency and responsibility to be there, for those in need. And so as co-chairs, Dave and Craig, how do you identify with, the founder's vision, and how will this campaign keep that going?
The key word you say is vision. And so, we know that without a vision, people perish. And literally, people have hardships all the time. And so when the founding four got together and made a very bold decision to put all their resources together, all their influence, and to create something that would benefit other people, I mean, that was such a huge monumental exercise in leadership. And I think we have a responsibility now, not just our core team of people, but our whole 1.5 million members. We have a responsibility to keep that going, to provide support to other people.
Awesome. Dave?
And our Hope Rising campaign is about honoring the past and preparing for the future. We have a vision for the Realtor Relief Foundation to have a sustainable reserve fund. And it's the love and generosity of the realtors that really demonstrates who we are. And that passion and that drive and that love is what's going to drive this campaign even beyond our time here.
And I will turn this final question to you, Charlie, our NAR president. We have seen just the amount of giving going on just in the last hour or so. Realtors have really just stepped up. What's behind that benevolence that we're seeing from realtors?
Well, I think, watching Richard, Kathy, and Pat talk and hearing some of that for the first time, when I heard Pat talking about going through the applications and having the woman who lost her only child writing a letter saying, I don't know if I qualify. I don't know if you can help me. And now finding out 20 years later that we paid her rent for a year, whatever it was. The chills I got at that point in time were like, we're doing the right thing. Realtors have a heart that just is beyond what I think the public understands. They see us as business, they see us as community, and they see us really as the fabric of being involved in so many different ways. But what people don't realize is realtors volunteer 72% of the time, where the average person, and I don't know if that's fair to say average person, but is half of that, because it's ingrained in who we are. And so for me, when we're looking 20 years later and looking at the future, it's the passion, it's the heart, it's the responsibility to be there for those who we don't even know who they are. And one of the things that I've talked about is I'm a big sports fan, as everybody knows. When Coach Jimmy Valvano was at North Carolina State and he started the cancer research, the V Foundation for Cancer Research, one of the things he said is, this foundation can't save his life, but it may save somebody in the future. It may be somebody he doesn't even know, or it might be a family member. And I think the same thing about the Realtors Relief Foundation. We're raising funds. We may not know any of the people that are the recipients, and yet we may know somebody in the future, and we have that responsibility to be there. And it's really the heart of the realtor that that keeps me going day in and day out, because I know who our people are and what they stand for.
Wow. Well, this has been so insightful, so inspiring. And I want to thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Craig, for sitting down with me and sharing your stories. It shows just how important it is for the Realtors Relief Foundation to hit its fundraising goal. And I hope all of you see that. The investments are rolling in from all over the country. Thank you to all of our NAR members. Take a look.
This is Morris Lyles, president of South Carolina Realtors. Please invest in the Realtor Relief Foundation.
Hi, this is Jim Lee from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I'm inviting all my fellow realtors to join me in contributing to the Realtor Relief Foundation.
Please invest today in the Realtor Relief Foundation.
Please invest in the Realtor Relief Foundation today.
Invest in the Realtors Relief Foundation today.
Invest in the Realtor Relief Foundation today.
We need to take the lead before the need and invest in the Realtor Relief Foundation today.
So please, invest in the Realtors Relief Foundation today.
Hi, everyone. This seems like a great time to check in on our mural. Wow, will you look at that? It is really starting to take shape. I absolutely cannot wait to see how this turns out. That's amazing. Thanks, Daniel. Now over to you, Lee.
The Realtors Relief Foundation is simply amazing. We've been incredibly privileged as an organization to assist thousands of Americans, over 17,000 in need over the past 20 years. But how exactly does it all work? How does this foundation get the much needed funding? And that funding, how do we get that into the hands of the people who need it the most? Patty Garcia and Andrea Bushnell are up next to explain the nuts and bolts of the Realtors Relief Foundation.
Hello, I'm Patty Garcia, Director of Realtors Relief Foundation Services, and I'm joined today by Andrea Bushnell, Chief Executive Officer of the North Carolina Association of Realtors. The Realtors Relief Foundation and North Carolina Realtors have collaborated numerous times over the years to respond to disasters in her state. Today we'll be discussing some of the need-to-know information about RRF so other state and local associations are poised to bring hope home to their communities should the need arise. Andrea, it's great to see you, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Patty. I'm really thrilled to be here with you. We've done a lot of work together, so this is a wonderful opportunity to be able to share.
Yes, thank you. Feeling is mutual. Andrea, can you think back to the first time North Carolina Realtors made a grant request? What kind of questions did you have at that time?
So when you first have a disaster that occurs in your state, there are all kinds of questions that start to arise. For example, does the disaster that we have just experienced actually qualify for assistance from RRF? And what kind of assistance is actually available to the victims of these disasters? In other words, mortgage payments, rental help, will you help with replacing personal property and cars and other things that are lost in the disasters? The ones that we experience here are usually complete and total. And so people oftentimes are walking away not only from their homes, but from all of their possessions. So, what's covered? How do we actually make the request and how much should we request are questions that are almost always asked. We don't know how to judge what it is that RRF can do against the needs of what we're seeing on the ground.
So thank you, Andrea. So while we hope we never ever have a need to respond to a terrorist attack, such as that of 9/11, we stand ready to help communities affected by natural disasters, such as floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, and wildfires. We've even responded to a volcano eruption disaster in Hawaii. There is, however, one criteria required in order for an association to apply for a relief grant, and that is the disaster area must be declared a state of emergency by a local, state, or national agency. The RRF prides itself in providing housing assistance in the form of a mortgage payment or temporary rental payment. The financial support helps offset and relieve burden of other expenses victims of disasters may incur. There is an application process. However, the first step requesting funds from a foundation is to contact me directly. I will serve as your primary resource and assist with answering questions concerning the application and the relief effort process. In terms of determining the amount of the grant request, a needs assessment is required to determine the scope of the damage, such as the number of homes affected by the disaster. Andrea, I think it would be helpful for our association colleagues to understand what goes into the application process. If an association finds itself in the unfortunate situation where it needs to apply for a grant, what information should they begin gathering so it can be as efficient as possible?
So that's a great question, Patty. And I think that you already hit on it a little bit, which is we need to know the scope of the disaster. So if we can assess how many people have been impacted, how long a duration has the disaster been going on. In other words, the longer the disaster, usually the worse the damage. So we need to start collecting data on how many communities have been impacted. We need to start collecting data on what is the extent of most of the damage. Those are the kinds of things that we rely on both the state of North Carolina for us to help us determine, but also we really rely on our local associations because they are on the grounds. And so typically the very first thing I do prior to applying for realtor relief funds is to reach out to the local associations and ask them, what is it like on the ground? And they will typically provide really good intel on what is actually happening, that certain communities are completely cut off because of flooding, for example, or a 4-block area has been leveled because of a tornado. Those are the kinds of things that we need to know. And really, quite frankly, the local associations are the best resource for that kind of information.
Thank you. Is there any advice you would give association staff to make the disaster relief effort process easier to manage?
Yes. What I would tell association staff to do immediately is to call you. Because the bottom line is that you have always been so wonderful about helping us determine what it is that we need to do. You've helped us determine what kind of funding we should be requesting given the level of the disaster. And so every application needs to start with you and a call to you.
I appreciate that. And this is truly a partnership effort amongst all three levels of the Realtor organization, local, state, and national. And it is my pleasure to work with our colleagues throughout the country to help however I possibly can. We're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to talk about disbursement. So in terms of disbursement of funds, people may not realize the RRF doesn't actually send checks to victims. The foundation partners with state or local associations who are essentially boots on the ground and interact directly with recipients. Can you elaborate how this has worked in North Carolina?
I can. So I will tell you that this is really the hard part, but sometimes in the worst of the disasters, just getting word out that there is funding available is the first step. And so in our very worst disaster, which hit probably one of the poorest communities in North Carolina, where people didn't have cell phones to begin with, and if they had a cell phone, they almost assuredly lost it. Getting word out was really difficult. And so we actually had boots on the ground, people going door to door once it was safe, and putting notices on people's doors so that they would know that funding was available and how to apply. And we would oftentimes set up a desk, if you will, a table in a church parking lot where, for example, Red Cross might also be, and we'd be there with applications and helping people work through the process. And then once the funds come from NAR, then we distribute those directly to the landlord and or the mortgage holder, as the case may be.
Like many associations, North Carolina Realtors has its own charitable foundation, the North Carolina Realtors Housing Foundation. Can you tell me a little bit about it? And does this have any impact on how and when you consider using RRF?
So that's a really great question. We do have our own charitable foundation that does many things in addition to disaster funding. However, our charitable foundation is more likely to actually be the funding source to give back to RRF after we have received funding from RRF in our state. We do give out funding in smaller disasters, but in the larger disasters, this is the group that actually helps raise funds for you guys so that we can help others in other communities. And so we're just trying to spread the love and help others as we have been helped.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Andrea. Believe it or not, we have reached the end of our session.
Oh, gosh.
Thank you very much for joining me today. It is always a pleasure to work with you and your great team at North Carolina Realtors.
Thank you, Patty. Feeling is mutual.
So just so you all know, I was born and raised right here in New York City. However, I've been living in Florida for most of my adult life. So I'm so proud to announce to you that Florida Realtors made a $600,000 donation, which is the largest state association gift ever. Now, I also want to introduce you to our president of Florida Realtors for 2021, Cheryl Lambert. Cheryl wasn't always in real estate. In fact, on 9/11, she was working in finance right here in New York City. Her story is incredibly powerful and makes you really consider your priorities. Please take a look.
On September 10th, 2001, I was a full runner in New York City's rat race. I lived in Connecticut but commuted all over New York State to install computer systems for large companies. I planned a trip to New York City the next day to work on a computer system in one of the Twin Towers. But fate stepped in. Another job in upstate New York diverted me out of the city. The crazy part is, I self-scheduled the change and the company calendar listed me as in the tower. As I watched with the rest of the world as the towers fell, I could not even call my colleagues to tell them I was safe because all the systems were in overload. As dust literally settled, I finally checked and heard the tragic news of all my friends I'd lost. September 11th served as a turning point for me. I decided to leave corporate America and pursue a real estate career, advocating for attainable workforce housing in Florida. As my leadership journey progresses, I am always inspired by the work the Realtors Relief Foundation did following the tragedy of 9/11. I am proud to serve as 2021 president of Florida Realtors, who is a longtime partner of the Realtors Relief Foundation. I encourage all members to be a hero for hope and invest in the Realtors Relief Foundation today. Why? We are realtors, and that's who we are.
It's us, is that right?
Hey, thank you, Cheryl, for being so vulnerable and sharing with us your story from 9/11, and also thank you for serving your realtors in Florida. I mean, it's wild.
I'm just so glad figured out it was our turn. What happened?
It's always our turn, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Look, that's why you should put Southerners in charge of everything, because just like Cheryl's life got shifted by 9/11, I mean, Southerners shift everything every chance we get.
Absolutely. We absolutely will always move around and do something different.
We do a lot of things different, don't we, Mike? I mean,
we try.
Do you know I found this really nice folder over here?
Did you? What?
It was laying on the
folder?
table. It wasn't even a prop, because look, it says Mike Ford. It's the prettiest realtor folder I ever did see.
You know, it really is a neat realtor folder. You know, President Charlie Oppler was looking at it yesterday and he said, "Hey, Ford, where'd you get that folder from?" And I said, "Well, hell, you gave it to me." So it was a present. But anyway, you know, I forgive him for forgetting he gave it to me.
Because we would only forgive him because he did create this event and push so hard for Realtors Relief Foundation to be expanded in the 20th year. And by the way, while we talk, y'all should be texting right quick to 41444, like it's right there on your screen, and text RRF and make your gift today. Because remember, all of the money that we raise, 100% goes back out into communities. And so, Mike, you're our president this year. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and it's great to have you as my vice president, because I know the foundation is going to be in great hands for the next 2 years anyway after me. I'm not sure about the next year and a half.
And
but
think
you'll do
about
a
how
great
much
job.
fun it is that we get to serve together and go to timeout together, because we're very good at that part.
I know. I sort of got used to not being in timeout, so it's been a new deal for me trying to get used to being in timeout again. Charlie and Chris Policron used to keep me in timeout all the time back in 2015, but I'm learning again how to cause a little trouble and make some waves.
But now, in addition to selling houses all these years in Arkansas with your wife, Lisa, and y'all run your brokerage, you volunteered forever. What's it like to be president of Realtors Relief Foundation, and why did you say yes to this role?
You know, Lee, of all the things that I've had the opportunity to do at this association, there's nothing that gives me more pride than being president of the Realtor Relief Foundation. I don't know of a single thing that we do as realtors that defines who we are better than the Realtor Relief Foundation. I mean, you know, you think about our communities and our homes. It's where we work, it's where we play, it's where we raise our family, but it's also we're there as a Realtor Relief Foundation in a time of need after a natural disaster. It's just a great opportunity for me and a great way sort of to wind down my many years of volunteerism at the National Association of Realtors, and couldn't be happier to have this opportunity to work on behalf of all of our realtors and those 17,000 families that we've helped over the last 19 years. It's a phenomenal opportunity.
And if you live in a zip code where realtors operate, which is all of y'all, you should make a gift right now to 41444 with the code RRF, because the Realtors Relief Foundation operates in the entire United States, including the territories.
Absolutely.
When these events occur, just so you know, it's wherever a natural disaster declaration is put in. So these are coming from our state associations, our local associations, and then when the grant process occurs, you get involved. Realtors are involved, because we don't want this to be a pie-in-the-sky, staff-only driven event. It's a collaboration of staff and volunteers. And we want you to donate today by texting RRF to 41444. But also, we like it when members are involved in the handing out of checks. And you've seen that in some of the videos so far during this event. And we want to make sure that as realtors, our neighbors see that we're there. I mean, realtors already volunteer at a 72% rate, whereas the general public volunteers at about a 25% rate. So we know how y'all are. You have that same heart for taking care of your community. And when you look at the numbers, it's wild. I mean, this kind of a ragtag, made up 20 years ago organization. I mean, we're not some fancy, tons of marketing all the time, which is why we're working hard right now to make sure all realtors know about it. But in all of those years, I mean, that's $33 million that have been given back out to neighbors. We're there before FEMA gets there. We're there often before the Red Cross and the United Way get there. I mean, they're all doing their different things, but Realtors Relief jumps into action so quickly. And I love that. It's so proactive, and that's why we're asking you to give today so that we can make sure we're ready.
You know, and Lee, I think the other thing we've given, if you're a realtor and you haven't figured out why you're a realtor after watching this event today, I'm going to give you another great reason. So every dollar that you invest in the Realtor Relief Foundation goes directly to victims. So if we raise $8.5 million, it's going to go to victims of natural disasters.
When we raise $8.5 million.
We're going to do it. Matter of fact, we're going to do it today. But I think that's important. Who else, what other organization can you write a donation to that you know that 100% of your donation is going directly to the cause that they're raising money for? So I think as realtors, it's another reason to have great pride in the fact that your National Association of Realtors picks up every expense involved in the Realtor Relief Foundation. So when we gather those funds, they're going to be used directly to go out to victims of natural disasters. That sets us apart from any other foundation that I know of.
I mean, think about it, y'all. Your neighbors could do this too. So if you have people who are watching the news footage out of Louisiana, out of New York and New Jersey, who've watched where tornadoes have hit, or that derecho that hit Iowa last summer, and they see it, they see the wildfires in California, and they think, how do I do something? Because as humans, we have this natural desire to fix and help. Let your friends and neighbors know. In fact, this should be part of your marketing campaign as a realtor, to let people know that in addition to being available to serve their real estate needs, we are serving in communities all over the country at this time. And because they are not involved in any kind of a solicitable class rule, which, you know, some of y'all know what I'm talking about, but everybody can give to Realtor Relief Foundation. So when you're at the grocery store next time and they say, hey, give us some money when you check out, you could say, thank you for that opportunity, but I'm going to give to RRF, because I'm going to text RRF to 41444 right now. And all of y'all that are doing that, would you please make a comment on social media and use our hashtag RRF Hope Rising? And that's going to tell people what we're doing, that this 20th anniversary campaign is building up our reserves. We want to make sure that when your area has a need, and nobody wants it to happen, y'all, but it will, it happens, when you make that request, that we can say yes.
So Lee, got about 1,000 realtors or so out here looking at this event today.
Y'all should all share it and make it 2,000.
I know it. So what do we know all of them have in their hand right now?
Well, they probably have their cell phones and also their iPads, and they're sitting in front of the computer, and they probably got a cup of coffee too.
So I see Charlie with his phone right now too, and I think he may be texting.
No, he's playing Words with Friends.
Oh.
But if you go to Charlie's Words with Friends game, go to the comments and tell him you made your gift to the Realtor Relief Foundation because you texted RRF to 41444. And I'm going to tell y'all, often realtors don't know what to talk about on social media. You get very tongue-tied and you say, what do I talk about? And then you lean into old bad practices of other people's ideas. What if you lean into this instead? And let the public know that while they could choose to use an app or a hedge fund or some rando for their real estate needs, maybe instead they want to call you, their neighbor, who in addition to helping them with their largest financial instrument, you're also there to help when that largest financial instrument has been affected by natural disaster.
So, Madam Vice President, as we sort of wind this section of the program down, I think it's been fun, and hopefully you can see we've had a little bit of fun today on the set too. You should have been here yesterday if you think we're having fun today. But last but not least, take the time today to make one more donation to the Realtor Relief Foundation. I promise you, every dollar you give will make hope rise with some family in a time of need. Lee, anything else?
In fact, if you want to know how much to give, why not do $9.11 to commemorate the attack that happened on this amazing country 20 years ago tomorrow? Make that gift and remember the sacrifices of so many of your neighbors at that time, and know that realtors have never, ever stopped being available at moments just like that. And then you could also do $91.11 or $911 or $9,110. I mean, you be creative as you want
Or
to.
just
move that decimal
$20.
around.
It could just be $20 for our 20th anniversary.
Or $27.33, which is a multiplier of 9/11. But anyway, I'm not going to practice my math here on air. And every time you make that gift, y'all, RRF, Hope Rising.
Absolutely. So let's carry it over to President Charlie Oppler.
Let me give you the cliff notes of what you just heard. Mike knew where he got the folder. They know that every donation counts. Lee, I have no idea what you said half the time, but most importantly, these are two incredible people in terms of the commitment to the Realtors Relief Foundation, and thank you both. As president of the National Association of Realtors, this has been a main priority for me this year to support the foundation. Unlike many foundations, one of the unique aspects of the Realtors Relief Foundation is that all of the operating costs, every single dollar, is covered by the National Association of Realtors. Here's Bob Goldberg, our CEO, who has been working with the Realtors Relief Foundation since its inception to explain why that's so important.
It's an unfortunate milestone. Unfortunate because we're not celebrating this, we're commemorating the 20th anniversary, but that means that there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. What we're doing right now is we're rallying the industry, we're rallying the members, the participants, the brokers, the vendors, the partners of NAR, everyone, and even players that are outside of our industry are really stepping up and saying, you know what, we need to do more proactively so that we're not always reacting. It's about moving quickly, knowing that there was a need that no one was fulfilling, to make a difference, to respond quickly. I think it talks a lot about realtor determination. It's the heart and will of realtors to help their communities and to help when there's a crisis at hand. And it's the same will and the same determination that I saw 20 years ago that we're putting in place today. I would venture to guess, as I look back at it, that over the 20 years of this foundation, NAR has spent approximately $5 million of direct expenses managing and servicing this foundation. And like I said, 100% of the contributions that come in go out the door directly to assist the need. We will bear that cost so that we get the full effect of every contribution that comes in to the Realtor Relief Foundation.
As you can see, the bond between NAR and the Realtors Relief Foundation, it's unique, it's deeply intertwined, and it ensures that every donation can go entirely to helping the foundation fulfill its mission of helping people in need. The sheer number of natural disasters in the last 20 years has increased exponentially, and you all see it day in and day out. But the partnership we have, the special relationship that we have, is what allows us to be there for our communities. We need your help to meet our goals this year. One organization that's helped us tremendously is Realtor.com. Their extraordinary generosity has made them our lead corporate donor, and it's hard to express how grateful we are for that. I personally really appreciate the relationship that we've built with the CEO, David Doctorow. He's a friend of our industry, and he's a friend of what we're doing now with the Realtors Relief Foundation. Welcome, David.
Seeing the devastation of recent crises like fires on the West Coast where I happen to live, flooding in Tennessee, and the winter storm in Texas underscores the importance of helping homeowners get back on their feet after life-changing events. Home is where we feel safe and secure, and for many, the pain of losing that home in a disaster can feel overwhelming. What motivated Realtor.com to step up as the lead corporate investor for the RRF campaign begins with the fact that our #1 culture objective at Realtor.com is to do purposeful work. That ambition is inspired by our mission, one that we share with realtors, to help bring people home. The place we call home has a huge impact on our daily lives, one that we all appreciate even more after the last year we've all just had. Bringing people home goes beyond getting people into home. It's also about helping people whose home has been damaged or lost and who are most in need after disaster strikes. For more than 2 decades, Realtor.com has been a partner to realtors, and not just in business. We are honored to stand with NAR, its members, and the Realtors Relief Foundation to be a powerful force for good and to help individuals and communities recover from disaster more quickly than they otherwise would. Congratulations on 20 tremendous years. Realtors should be proud of the work you've done across the country to help rebuild better and stronger communities, one home at a time. Together, we can make a real difference.
Thanks, David, so much.
Your generosity is enormous and heartfelt and has a huge impact on all of our members, and we appreciate it. And in fact, what else has a huge impact are high heels. And so, Mike, let me make this a little more even playing field. There we go.
I told her I like tall ladies, so it was okay with me. But absolutely. So right now, we want to give a shout out to some associations have been extremely generous, especially considering how many realtor members they may have.
Frankly, it's the beauty of our state associations. When we as realtors work together, we can make a big and scalable impact.
Yes.
All of the following groups have given at a rate of more than $10 per member. Let's start with the Mississippi Realtors at $14.08 per member. Thank you, Dorothy and Beth. We appreciate your leadership.
What an amazing number. Not to be outdone by Vermont, who is at $13.12 a member. Thank you, President Mark and AE Kathy.
Keeping it green, Vermont, we appreciate your green. It's our favorite color today. And we know it's been a tough stretch for your next association, but they've kept it up because the rest of us haven't gone through what the Louisiana Realtors have gone through. And what do? They keep moving the ball forward at $12.30 per member. Mark, as president, we thank you for your service. And Norman, you are an AE without match, and we're grateful.
Also on this list is my home state, the great state of Arkansas. Thank you, President Bob, and thank you, Mickey Bass.
So let's also talk about our local associations because you guys are doing the grassroots on the ground, and we have also seen some of our states with more than 20% of their members giving to the Realtors Relief Foundation. I mean, so far. So if you're not listed, frankly, y'all know what to do. Text RRF to 41444 and get your state on the list. And let's start with Minnesota, where 40% of NAR members have already donated to the Realtors Relief Foundation. TJ, thank you for leading the way. And Chris, you are always leading as well. We appreciate you.
And no stranger to any list we're going to be talking about today is my home state of Arkansas, and 36%. So thank you to everyone in Arkansas.
Are you one of them?
Yes,
okay,
I'm one of them, including our
ask.
president, Bob, and our association director, Mickey Bass. But thanks, everyone in Arkansas.
And not later, but sooner. We have Oklahoma at 33% of membership who have already invested in the Realtors Relief Foundation. Amy and Jessica, thank you for leading the way.
You know, it hasn't been easy for the Bayou State and Louisiana. The National Association of Realtors members have been incredibly generous to the tune of 30%. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, Norman.
And all the other parishes can join them right quick because we know y'all want to outdo New Jersey, because in New Jersey, if you don't give to the Realtors Relief Foundation, they probably put you in concrete shoes. And by the way, thank you for letting us borrow Charlie. We can't wait to give him back at the end of the year. Jeff, thank you for leading as state president. And Jared, thank you.
Now, let's send it over to Mr. New Jersey, Charlie Oppler.
Thanks, Lee and Mike. You know, another Cliff Notes version, but I think people now know what y'all do all the time. And more than that, it just continues to show the generosity of this organization, Craig. And I'm just always amazed at what each state does, what each association does. It just never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, our members are really stepping up right now and showing that they're all in for the cause of what we're doing right now. So it's really, really amazing to see. And we want to point out a couple of very, very special people. For one, we have one in my state in Florida. And I'm telling you, it has been just phenomenal to see this small little association in Jacksonville, Florida, the Northeast Association of Realtors, Northeast Florida Realtors. What they have done, they have given, as a small association, 10,000 members. They've given $250,000. Northeast Florida Realtors. It's unbelievable. Jacksonville, thank you so much. This is going to go such a long way in helping the foundation continue its mission. So we want to hear from the association president. Her name is Missy Howell. We want to hear from her about the impact that the Realtor Relief Foundation has had in Northeast Florida and why they chose to be such a big part of Hope Rising.
Before we go to that, though, I think we have another total. We're going to see another number. So let's have the envelope, please.
Okay.
I'll open it and you read it.
Oh, sounds good.
That's what we call teamwork.
Team. Oh, man. All right, so it looks like here so far today, this is the updated numbers here. Remember, we had a goal. We were all last night in the car, we're talking about what we're going to do. And we said, man, we can get $50,000. That'd be like a really great win for us.
We did.
So it looks like you guys are not having the $50,000 number. It looks like so far we're up to $216,000 raised of the and it looks like we're at 7.25 million.
Incredible.
85% of our 8.5 million goal. We've had 450 realtor donations today, just in the past hour and a half.
And it's only like 11 o'clock out west, right?
That's right.
So they have the rest of the day. Those of you in the east, keep going. Central, Arkansas has already given every last dollar, according to Mike. So if there are others that haven't been part of that 40%, now's your chance. But really, thank you to everybody. We're going to hit that 8.5 million, and we may even exceed it by the end of the year. So thanks for everything that you've done. And let's throw it back to the Northeast Florida Association.
Let's hear from Missy.
Personally, I'm from West Virginia. And in 2016, there was a 1,000-year flood that hit there that just devastated probably a third of the state. And I know that Realtor Relief Foundation stepped up in a big way. As a realtor, personally, all of my customers that I deal with, buyers that I'm dealing with, will be told the very first thing that you're going to do. If you're financing, apply for your loan. The second thing that you're going to do is start shopping for insurance. Because once there's a named storm in Florida, it's very, very difficult to get insurance bound, and it may delay a closing. We know that not only across our state, but across the country, there have been so many that have been so unfortunate to be in the pathway of natural disasters, of terrorism, and we have been fortunate that we have not really had those issues. We are surrounded by members who are very generous and who regularly and routinely donate to not only our charitable foundation, but also for other causes that we may have whenever there are tragedies out there. RRF is a beacon of hope for so many thousands of individuals across the country. We're here to help them.
Thank you, Missy, for your involvement and your generosity. That donation will certainly go a very long way. Well, we've been standing around this afternoon, and as you've seen, there's a beautiful piano here on set. I'm sure you've been waiting for someone to play it. Well, here's your chance. We have just the person. Let's watch the multi-talented Lee Brown perform our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, right here at the wonderful Faison Firehouse Theater. Wow, right? Thank you so much, Lee Brown, for that performance. How many of you are shocked to find out that Lee can play the piano like that? Lee, you're definitely a woman who does it all. Wow. Okay, we're going to see how much progress has been made on our mural. How's it going down there, Daniel? Oh my. This is just so cool to watch. If all of you are looking at this right now, it is just such a treat. Amazing. We'll continue to check in with Daniel, but I cannot wait to see how it ends up. Next up, Dave Legaz.
Thank you so much, Janelle. The next video is near and dear to me. We'll be hearing from my good friend, Jennifer Vucetic. She is the president-elect of the New York State Association of Realtors and our RRF New York State campaign captain. Jennifer recently graduated from the NAR Leadership Academy, where she and her team focused on the Realtor Relief Foundation as their Capstone project. Let's let Jennifer say a few words about the role realtors can play when a disaster strikes.
My Leadership Academy Capstone Project members were Lou Nimkoff from Florida, Kelly Benton from North Carolina, Adam Schwen from Oregon, and James Griffith Dooling from Michigan. We decided to focus on the Realtors Relief Foundation because there was such an increase in natural disasters. In 2019, we experienced 3 floods, 8 severe storms, 2 tropical cyclones, and 1 wildfire. The average event from 1980 to 2015 was 7 natural disasters a year. In the last 5 years, that number has doubled to 14 and is still rising. The most powerful takeaway that we came away with in our research for the Realtor Relief Foundation is that we thought we were going to have a hard time getting buy-in from states that weren't coastal or didn't experience natural disasters. In the course of our Capstone project, James from Maine had a dam give way and it flooded the towns below it. There was lakefront houses that were no longer lakefront. There were towns that were completely flooded and devastated. Adam from Oregon faced devastating wildfires. They had never had issues with wildfires before, and they were experiencing evacuations and poor air quality. So as we were getting into this, we realized that this isn't just a coastal or southern problem, that disasters can and will occur in every state. Realtors are so critical in the repairing of communities and dissemination of information. So strengthening the Realtors Relief Foundation really gives us realtors the tools to be community champions and help our communities recover after devastating natural events happen. It is very important for us to get out in our communities and be able to help them recover. I would encourage every realtor to get involved with the Realtor Relief Foundation. As we know, events are occurring with more frequency and happening across the states. And realtors in the community are the ones who will help the economy and the communities recover. It is so important that we have the tools needed to help our communities. Take the lead before the need. Invest in the Realtors Relief Foundation today.
Thanks for that, Jennifer. As you can all see, we know that it's important to take your role as a realtor seriously, and I'm also grateful that our Leadership Academy is taking their own leadership role forward with the Realtor Relief Foundation, because as we represent this profession, it's important to make sure that our neighbors know that we're friends, we're neighbors, we're members of every community, we're in every zip code. And we look out for our communities as a whole. We do more than sell houses. We're not just out there putting signs in yards. We are rolling our sleeves up and really digging in every time we're called upon. And why is that important to us? Because that's who we are.
Realtor pride, that's what makes us who we are.
It's who we are.
That's who we are.
That's who we are.
That's who we are.
Because that's who we are.
That's who we are.
That's who we are.
Hi, everyone. It's just an incredible afternoon for all of us, and hopefully for all of you. You've enjoyed to learn more about the Realtors Relief Foundation, those who were there from the beginning, and so many of the other states and locals and partners that have been involved. Thank you for your generosity, your donation, your investments, most importantly, your passion and spirit. The next clip is important to me. As you know, I'm from New Jersey, even though I don't have a Southern drawl, and I'm not from North Carolina, and I'm not from Arkansas. I am from New Jersey. So is Jared Grasso, the CEO of our state association. We've known each other for many years. New Jersey Realtors were key in the response to 9/11 when the foundation was formed. I'll let Jared tell you more about the impact we've had on the foundation, but more importantly, the foundation has had on us, and the importance of keeping our reserves strong well into the future. Jared?
Well, the Realtor Relief Foundation is obviously there to help everyone. It's not limited in how we give monies or who we give monies to. It's not limited to just realtors, though we always talk about we want to make sure that the realtor family is taken care of. This touches all families. The Realtor Relief Foundation was established to make sure that we kind of put our money where our mouth is. We talk about how we are part of our communities, and the Realtor Relief Foundation demonstrates how we are truly part of our communities by giving back to those individuals who are impacted by a natural disaster or any type of disaster. One of the letters that I recall is a mother who sent us photos of her children right before 9/11. They were going to their first day of school, and she said that our relief efforts helped her children get through a difficult time because they lost their father on 9/11. And just to see those young individuals not knowing what's going to happen to their dad just days later, it really touches a heartstring. We knew that we were out there in our communities giving back, but when you see those kids and the mom talking about how she didn't know how she was going to make ends meet, but the Realtor Relief Foundation was the first ones out there giving them mortgage assistance, you see how we help. We were there because we saw the need. As a realtor organization, we stepped up in a way that no other organization could have stepped up. A lot of people know that the Twin Towers are located in New York City, but many of the employees who worked in those towers lived in the state of New Jersey. And what you see behind me is our tribute as a state to those individuals who lost their lives. I've been up there with my family, and it gives you chills when you're there to see this monument and how it's facing the New York skyline. I'm so proud of who we are, what we are, and how the Relief Foundation shows the value of the realtor family, because the realtor family is about giving back to our communities. You know, so many times the Relief Foundation is there and they're getting the requests in, but they then have to go out and then fundraise to then bring back the monies to states or to localities in individual states. And this way we'll have a solid foundation to work off of. And remember, this effort right now is going to be a long-term effort. Take the lead before the need. Invest in the Realtor Relief Foundation today.
Thanks, Jared. I truly appreciate everything that you and the state of New Jersey does, and your friendship over the years means so much to me, and I look forward to working with you and the New Jersey Realtors for many years ahead. As Lee said earlier, you're getting me back whether you like it or not pretty soon. Now let's look at some local associations who have invested relative to the size of their membership at an incredibly high level. Let's start with the Eastern Arkansas Association of Realtors. They've given at a higher rate than anyone else. Who's their president? Let me give you one guess. Gentleman to my right, none other than Mike Ford. Mike?
Thank you, Charlie, and what a privilege it is to be president of the Eastern Arkansas Realtors Association this year. And I want to send a big shout out to all the board of directors and all the members of our association for your support for Realtor Relief Foundation, but also for supporting me as your president this year. And thank you to our executive officer, Diane McAdoo.
Eastern Arkansas Association of Realtors, $37.59 per member. President Michael Ford, Association Executive Diane McAdoo. Mike, I'm so glad you're here. Why don't you tell us about the next board?
Well, you know, it's great. The Lawrence Board of Realtors from Region 9, an investment of $29.07 per member. Their president is John Huntington, and their executive vice president is Rob Hughes.
Mike, you know, we talked earlier about the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors and what a huge difference they've made with 10,000 members. Thanks again to the association. $25.61, President Missy Howell and Association Executive Glenn East.
Just a great investment. And would like to mention the Spartan Association of Realtors and say thank you once again for their investment of $12.49 per member. Big shout out to President Dale and their Executive Director, Jody.
You know, everybody has done such an amazing job. Their generosity, it just continues. And we can only say thank you every time because you can't ever say it enough. It's an enormous impact that you've all made. Everything that we do has taken it to the next level. And everything that is being done by so many people is inspiring. And certainly the next piece, you know, is a great story. And we'll let Craig tell you about it.
Thanks, Charlie. So the RRF allows realtors to take care of their communities when they're in need. And sometimes realtors need to be taken care of too. In 2018, the California Camp Fire did over $16 billion in damage. It burned more than 150,000 acres. It claimed 85 lives and destroyed over 18,000 buildings. One of those was the home of Ellie Rose Bush, a realtor from Oroville, California. We're going to let her tell her own story and her own experience about working with the Realtors Relief Foundation after facing her own disaster and tragedy.
When I realized that the fire was coming at all, it was like 7:15 in the morning, and I just stepped out on my front porch to go to my car to go to work. And when I looked up, there was what we call fire clouds. So it was at that time that I really felt in my bones this was not good. This was, you know, this was going to be a very different event. My husband just sent me a message and said, I'm leaving the house, the fire's coming through the backyard, and it's not going to be able to be saved. I knew at that moment the house was burning as we spoke, which was really unbelievable. Waking up and realizing that everything I'd saved for my kids, all the mementos that I had from my many trips, pictures, all that stuff was gone. And I was told, there's a Realtor Relief Fund. We're going to go ahead and start the application process for you. You're going to have to sign a couple things, but there's money to help you out. I didn't feel alone. And I felt valued by this association that I've worked for 13 years now. It gave us the hope, and the hope helped us move forward. And those are baby steps. Those early days are baby steps. Any kind of hope that you can get in those early days really does help you take the next step and wake up another day. When you learn that the ultimate disaster has happened to you and you have no way to step away from that, you have to deal with it. Having a family of realtors there with you by way of contribution, it just means a lot, and it does help you move forward. For people to be able to contribute, they're helping their fellow people, and hopefully they'll never have to experience it themselves. But if they do, it helps to know that there's some help out there.
Ellie, thank you so much for sharing that very personal story. I'm so glad that the Realtor Relief Foundation made you not feel alone. I can remember the day that the Realtor Relief Foundation approved the grant. Most of all, I can hear the pain in Realtor Relief President Martin Edwards' voice as he shared the stories from realtors, and later about his visit to view the devastation firsthand. In these stories and many others define exactly who we are. Once again, thank you, Ellie, for sharing your deeply personal story.
It's a state of mind. Don't waste my time. Can't hold me down for nothing now. So you be loud, baby, be proud. Don't hold your head down no more. Rising up from the clouds, I'm gonna stand up and take back what I know is mine. Change won't hold me down. Freedom is who I am and what I'm gonna be. They say I walk too proud. They say I'm way too loud. Well, who are you to judge me? We all eat, breathe, and sleep and breathe the same way. I'll be my own saving grace. You can keep your lies and your hate. Stand the test of time. Through the dark I shine. It's a state of mind. Don't waste my time. Can't hold me down for nothing now. So you be loud, baby, be proud. Don't hold your head down no more. Ain't nobody hold what's in your soul. Restrain me for what you better let go. Go. My wrong just may be right. So I'ma cleanse from the shame, wipe me down from the pain. I'ma get what's mine, reclaim it all my time. It's a state of mind, don't waste my time. Can't hold me down for nothing now. So you be loud, baby, be proud. Don't hold your head down no more. Babylon's falling to rise no more. They say the good Lord's coming and that brings some joy. But I can't hold my peace and just stay still. We all know that ain't no way to live. It's a state of mind. Don't waste my time. Can't hold me down, oh no, no, no. So you be loud, baby, be proud. Don't hold your head down no more.
So now we're going to take a moment to shine a spotlight on our fearless leader, the president of the National Association of Realtors, Charlie Oppler. Charlie, it's great to be sitting here. We are here. Can you believe it?
It's hard to imagine that so many months ago we thought this foundation could have a great event, you know, a telethon and a thank you-a-thon, if you will, and it's here.
It's here.
It's almost done even.
Yeah. So I want to start off with something, I know you know this, but everyone else out there might not know this. I'm from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, an area that's been hit by a number of disasters as well. And we talked about this. One of my earliest memories at maybe 4 years old was being carried out of our home that had been flooded by a firefighter. And so I know that feeling. And I just wanted to thank you, just as someone who's been impacted by those types of things. Just thank you for the vision of doing this. I mean, this has been an amazing program.
You know, when you think of what just happened with Hurricane Ida and Henry, that situation just happens over and over, you know, and you just never know who's going to need that help. And certainly the storms in the Gulf have been devastating over the years. And whether it's the Florida Panhandle, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas. So when I hear that story, as difficult as it was for you, at the same point, I know what we're creating in terms of longevity and sustainability, that we can help those in the future a lot quicker recover. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. So let's go a little bit back to the beginning here. I want to hear about your experience 9/11 and where you were, because that really motivated you for this moment.
Yeah, you know, growing up in New Jersey and being across the river, and you heard Jared speak earlier about the amount of people from New Jersey that worked in New York and lost their lives. I was with my partner, Randy Keetive. We were interviewing a potential sales associate when at about 8:45 or so, Randy's husband called and said a plane just hit one of the towers. And, we just were kind of mesmerized, the three of us sitting there like, what does that mean? And then, you knew at that point you weren't going to continue a conversation about how great your company was, or do you really want to be a salesperson and anything like that. So we were pretty much finished at that point. The office in Fort Lee was about, a couple 100 feet from the Hudson River. So, again, you're sitting there not knowing what's happening, and then everybody's starting to look at the computers, listen to their phones and everything. And then within the next 15 minutes, the plane hit the second building. And I think at that point, we were all just numb.
Right.
And then you start to hear all the stories about people that you knew that were at the building and who lost their lives subsequently, when you find that out, or who made it out, or you didn't know for almost a whole day, who was safe and who wasn't. And there's just so many stories about what happened. And, it just continues to motivate me that the foundation be here for a long time to support those that need help.
Right, right. So I know, at that time, the foundation was just a thought. It was in its early days. And did you ever think that we'd be sitting here, 20 years later, and just millions of dollars distributed to communities literally all over the country? Did you think we'd get to this point?
I had a great vision and hope that we could build this to a higher level, getting to know Richard and Martin and Kathy and Pat over the years, and seeing their same passion today. And we all watched that for, they could talk for hours. And when we had our first meeting and there were about 20 of us on the screen, their passion that you saw today has never changed in the 20 years. And that just motivated me to say, it's our turn. Right. They've asked nothing for us, but you could see it's our turn to take it to the next level. And someplace down the road in 10 years, 15 years, it's going to be another group that takes it to the higher level. And again, 1,500,000 members, we have a responsibility to our communities to continue to raise money. So did I see us being at 8.5 million? I had hoped we could raise a lot of money. I would be probably not telling you the truth that I thought we could hit to 8.5 million. Originally, I was hoping we could get maybe 3 or 4 million.
I remember that. I do.
So I'm just proud of everybody and all the associations and the individuals that have stepped up.
You've actually talked a number of times over the last year about the importance of a sustainable reserve fund. So tell us a little bit about why that's important.
The thought of disaster fundraising never appealed to me. That we should be reaching out in the time of a crisis to ask for money. So by raising this substantial amount, we're really building for the future. And Dave talked about it before. We're preparing to help our members down the road. So I'm excited that we've been able to get here. But again, this is just one day. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a drive that has to happen continuously so the foundation's sustainable and gets away from disaster fundraising. Again, like Ida and Henry and the fires out west, if we didn't have the dollars that we have now, we couldn't act as quickly as we've been able to.
The leadership team from 2001, we saw them earlier speak so eloquently about that time and just the responsibility they felt in their actions. What would you say to realtors, today's generation of realtors, in terms of, keeping their vision alive?
I think this is probably a perfect time. Somebody out there is going to be sitting in my chair, sitting in Lee's chair, Mike's chair, Dave and Craig. It's somebody else's term and time down the road. So I would just say to all of the thousands of realtors that are watching today, be part of the solution. Mm-hmm. Make a difference like Richard, Martin, Kathy, and Pat have the vision to do better. We all talk about giving back, but but I like to think it's about doing more and doing better. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have that in them, and I can't wait to see who sits in these chairs in the future.
Have the vision to do better. I like that. Thank you, Charlie Oppler, for your time, your leadership, your vision, and your dedication to the Realtors Relief Foundation. And now I'm going to pass it off to Craig and Dave.
Thanks so much, Janelle. So Dave, you and I have been working on this Realtor Relief Foundation for many, many months now.
It's been a long time, but we couldn't have done it alone. Alongside us has been the campaign committee, whose tireless efforts have put us within striking distance of our campaign goals.
Yeah, and there's so many people to acknowledge. All right, so we're on short time, so we're going to do our best and go through this very quickly.
All these people selflessly gave their time and energy because they believe in the mission of the Realtor Relief Foundation. So we all do. And thanks to everyone who volunteered on the campaign. None of this could have happened without them.
No doubt. And your work is going to help the RRF to do its work right now and propel it also into the future. So also now, if you're interested in learning how you can actually join this movement and be a part of our volunteer team and advocate for the foundation, we would love to talk to you. Just email us at rrf@nar.realtor and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. All right, now, Dave, this is going to be a sprint.
Let's do it. We'll start with our campaign committee itself. Kathleen Sweeten and Donna Cusson from Vermont. Jared Grasso from New Jersey. Margaret Hartman from New York.
Scott Ryder and Bonnie Roberts-Burke, Washington, D.C. Andrea Bushnell, North Carolina. Carl Tackett, Kentucky.
Beth Hansen, Mississippi. Andrew Barber, Florida. Eugene Spensky, Michigan.
Jeffrey Baker and Michael Oldenell in Illinois. Gavin Blair, Iowa. Len Sarvella in Minnesota. Mickey Bass and Doyle Yates in Arkansas.
Norman Morris, Louisiana. Vicky Fulton, Texas. Melissa Maldonado and Scott Matthias, Colorado.
Steve Franks, Washington. Tiffany Magansky, Idaho. Nancy Donahue Jones in Hawaii, and Chris Kutsky in California. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we're gonna go, we're not done, on to our state captains.
We have Casey McLeod and Sharon Bowler from California, Jennifer Dick and Derek Shiever, Mississippi, Rita Coffey, Massachusetts.
Aaron Bolster in Maine, Carol Christensen in Connecticut, Janice Shows in Mississippi, and Leanne D. Torrey and Victoria Duran in Rhode Island.
Mark Montrose, Vermont. Kelly Sargent, Melissa T., Rick Luce, and Roger Kopernick from Michigan. Steve LaRue, Kansas.
Amy Baldo, Oklahoma. Kendra Bruce, Arkansas. John Lynch, John Hall, Jim West, Meg Casper, Barbara Locke, and Brad Knapp, Ohio.
Bob Taylor, Michigan. My good friend Jennifer Visetic from New York. My NARLA friend Bikel Fresnel from Georgia, and Byron Menke, Ohio.
Dutch Deckard and Eileen Horowitz from New Jersey. And finally, Ruben Pena, Texas.
Woo!
We did it.
Absolutely. But it also shows how many people have donated their time for this amazing cause. We're so grateful for all of you. And Greg, I'm grateful to call you a friend and to be on this campaign with you.
Same here, brother. I feel the same way. So thank you, man. So now, thanks to everyone who has volunteered their valuable time with the campaign. You make us all look so good. You really support this campaign. We can't wait to do this. And we can't do any of this without you. We can't wait to see more of you support us. And your generosity means everything. So now, we're going to hear from a few members of the campaign committee.
Hey guys, this is Charles Hinckley. I am from the Fort Knox, Kentucky area, and I am the president of the Kentucky Realtors. It's my privilege to serve for 2021. It is with your help that we are making a difference. We're making a difference across the state, across the country, and more importantly, we're making a difference in people's lives because we are giving them hope. And as hope rises, all of us rise.
I'm Lee Brown. I'm a realtor in Concord, North Carolina, and I am honored to support the Realtor Relief Foundation because for 20 years, we've been bringing answers to our neighbors in need. You can be a part of the solution right now so that we are ready the next time duty calls. Thank you for considering investing in this process and knowing that when we help our neighbors put their pieces back together, we live out this idea that definitely hope is rising. Let's all be an army of good.
I'm Dory Love, the 2021 president for the Georgia Association of Realtors. And on behalf of our 48,000 members, we're so excited to support and celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Realtor Relief Foundation. As Realtors, there's no greater joy than to help those in our community when they need it the most.
My name is Bob Caldwell, Realtor from Orlando, Florida. I had the distinct honor and pleasure of serving on the Realtor Relief Foundation for a number of years. Personally, I've had the opportunity of handing out checks in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, as well as in Panama City after Hurricane Michael here in Florida. Right now, we're in the 20th anniversary of the foundation. Please join me in contributing to the foundation to help those in need for the mortgages and rental payments.
I'm Beth Dalton from Richmond, Virginia, and I am the 2021 Virginia Realtors President. The Realtors Relief Fund is a shining example of the Realtors' commitment to community. When we join together to lift up our neighbors in times of need, we grow both as an individual and as an association.
I'm Seth Task, President of Ohio Realtors. You know, realtors have long been known as champions of our communities, logging countless hours in community service, volunteering for charities, supporting our schools, and all of the things that make our communities great places to live throughout the country. The Realtor Relief Fund is just another example of how realtors embrace their communities, especially in times of trouble. Now is the time that we need to help replenish that fund. Here in Ohio, we tapped into that fund, helping our Dayton community during a time of trouble through horrible tornadoes a couple years ago. And we and the rest of the country hope to continue in the efforts that the Realtor Relief Fund has done so many great things throughout the country. I urge you to be a part of this movement to build this fund back up. Thanks.
Thanks to all of you for your hard work on this campaign. It's been an amazing experience, and I know there's even more work to do as we continue forward, because there have been so many natural disasters in the United States since the inception of the Realtors Relief Foundation. You're talking tornadoes, floods, wildfires, volcanoes, hurricanes, you name it, and we've been there. And when we think about those big disasters, it's hard to forget what happened with Hurricane Katrina. It devastated New Orleans and the surrounding region in 2005. Norman Morris is the president and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Realtors, and he's going to tell you about the role that the RRF played in helping the victims of Katrina. Obviously, that entire region is still reeling from the enormous impact of Hurricane Ida, and it's not over yet. Our hearts go out to everyone who's been affected by this terrible storm. Now, this video was recorded prior to Ida making landfall, but rest assured, the foundation is involved in the relief efforts already, and we will continue to stay involved as long as we're needed.
Well, Hurricane Katrina, the impacts it had on my life is it made me recognize how fragile life is. Also that overnight, individuals can lose everything that they have. Lives, their properties, etc. And it really just wakes you up to the fact that the devastation caused, you can lose it in a matter of seconds. Partnering with the Realtors Relief Foundation is just a great experience, and it's just like a very support that was given to us back then was just enormous. And for being able to take those resources and provide those to those in need after Hurricane Katrina and all of the storms that we've experienced, just to see the hope on their face, the smile on their face, to be able to say, the realtors are here to help you. They're here to help you rebuild and get back to where you were before the disaster. It's just truly amazing what the Realtors Relief Foundation has done to be able to support the efforts in Louisiana to bring us back after a devastation or a flooding event or a hurricane disaster. It's an ability for, if you can give $10, $100, or whatever you can afford, those dollars are tremendously used around the country to help those in need. And guess what? There's no overhead cost in those contributions to the Relief Foundation. 100% of those dollars go right back out to help those in need in a time of a disaster. So I encourage all Realtor members, particularly those new to this process, to consider contributing to the Realtors Relief Foundation. And I know once you do, you'll be very proud to say that you're one of those members that has contributed.
Thanks, Norman. Wish we could see each other in person. And let me echo what Lee said. Our thoughts are really with everyone in Louisiana impacted by Hurricane Ida. We're here for you, we're pulling for you, and wish we could be there to help you. Now there's one person we truly wish could be here with us today. You heard Pat Kaplan speak earlier about Martin Edwards and his vision for the foundation and his importance over the last 10 years to the Realtors Relief Foundation. Many of you know him as one of the founders, but he's truly been the face of the Realtors Relief Foundation. Martin wasn't able to be here with us, but it's just not the same, and we wouldn't be where we are without him. Now, here's Katie Schatz, the CEO of the Memphis Area Association of Realtors, and Martin's longtime friend and colleague, and a good friend of ours, Bob Turner, to talk about Martin and honor his legacy. Thank you, Martin, from me, for the friendship. Miss seeing you, and really wish we could see each other soon in the future.
Gosh, I mean, Martin is, he just doesn't know another way. Martin is stubborn in the best possible way. He sees a need and he wants to take action and get things done. He's definitely a doer.
Martin likes helping people all the time, and once he sees there's an issue or a problem, especially a realtor or a community that needs help, he's like, let's go.
Martin has such a huge presence, especially here in Memphis. He is our hometown hero. He's involved with a board for the city of Memphis that he's been on for at least a decade that helps with attainable housing. He still shows up to our events here in Memphis, and he still reaches out to people. He calls me to check on me. He reaches out to our president to check on them, and he's always giving and is so approachable.
Whatever it is, he's always there. You may not see him, but he's always there. He's in the background somewhere. He's pushed the button, or he's opened the door, or he's called somebody and said, you need to go do this. I guess my favorite memory, and he talks about it often, is how he fought the banks and just continually fought them until he beat them to keep them out of the real estate business. It just shows his dedication. I mean, he lived in D.C. more than he lived in Memphis during that time, and he never backed off. He never let them get a step ahead of him. He loves it. He loves what he does. It means the world to him. I hope people step up and believe as much as Martin does in the Realtor Relief Foundation and NAR.
It's great to hear Bob and Katie talk about Martin and what he's meant to the foundation, and you can just see the emotion in both of their voices about what Martin means to them in Memphis, but means to all of us. We've been giving shout outs and recognition to so many associations today. We'd like to wrap up this session and the giving recognition to the amazing NAR regions who have given more than 10% participation, and of course, there's some that have given far more than that. We are all so grateful for your donations, your generosity, and all you do. I will say thank you 100 times, and it still won't be enough. So thank you for what you do. Your generosity makes this possible. And quite frankly, your generations now and in the future make it even more possible. So let's start with Region 9. Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, 26%. Regional Vice President Doyle Yates from Arkansas. Regions 2, 4, and 10 are 12%. Region 2, my home region, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. Regional Vice President Margaret Hartman from New York. Region 4, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Home region for Foundation Vice President Lee Brown. Your Regional Vice President Carl Tackett from Kentucky. Region 10, Louisiana and Texas. Regional Vice President Vicki Fullerton. Now, just want to think about all the people that made this happen. I want to thank all of our NAR staff, all of the production crew that we're working with today here. You can't see them behind the scenes, but they have made this seamless for us and really have done a great job. So a thank you to all of you for everything that you have done. We're getting close to the end, and we've been saying it all day. Let me say it one more time. Thank you. From all of us, from Lee, from Mike, from Craig, Dave, and the person that makes us look good throughout the day with these nice conversations and brings out the best in all of us, Janelle Brevard, who's the chief storyteller for the National Association of Realtors, but more of a friend for all of us. So thank you, Janelle. Thank you again for your time, your energy, your donations. It doesn't come just from me. It comes from the whole leadership team. It comes from everybody in this room. And for all 1,500,000 members, thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you for investing today in the Realtors Relief Foundation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thanks for your support.
Thanks for making this possible.
Wow, we're almost to the end, Mike.
Getting close, aren't we?
Right, we are. Thanks to all of you. We've seen and heard some amazing stories today.
You know, there's just so much emotion that's taking place today and so much emotion here as we begin to wrap up this session today.
Right, so now we're going to wrap up another story right now. I've heard that Daniel, our muralist, has completed his work, so let's see the final result. Wow.
That is amazing, isn't it?
It's absolutely breathtaking. Thank you so much, Daniel. It's more than we could have imagined, right?
And you know, and hope really is rising. And you know, I've got a great announcement tonight, Janelle, and as the chief storyteller, you can continue to tell this story.
Oh, yeah.
But the Realtor Relief Foundation is going to have a permanent home at our National Association of Realtors recently remodeled headquarters in Chicago. And that beautiful mural is going to be displayed in that new home of ours, along with all the history over the last 19 years and now on into the future. So I'm so excited that we're going to have a home for the Realtor Relief Foundation. And thank you on behalf of all of our members for all you do, and especially what you've done for all of us today.
Oh.
You've been great to work with. Thank you.
It has been amazing working with all of you, and thank you for that news. That is just great to hear, and I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Well, I'm excited too, and maybe we can tell another story about it sometimes.
I'm in.
I'm in. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
And I'm going to turn it over now to the Jamboree All-Stars for one final number.
Absolutely.
I love a good jam session, baby. This been like on me.
You know, we're just about near the end, but I can't do this without saying a lot of thank yous. Craig, Dave, Lee, and Mike, Janelle for being the glue that really kept us together the last couple of days. To all the people here at the Faison Firehouse Theater, thank you all for everything that you've done. These accomplishments don't happen by one person. They just happen with an incredible amount of realtors that are involved with the Realtors Relief Foundation, our members, and everybody else that's out there. Before we take a look at the last note card, remember, tomorrow's 9/11. It's a day that we should never forget. Think about those families that were impacted and lost loved ones. Think about all of the first responders and everything. And Dave, thank you again for everything that you did back in 2001. But everybody else, think about that. Take a moment at 8:38, I believe, in the morning, and again at 9:03, and think about where you were, and think about, if you're watching us today, what you can do to make it better for somebody else. That's what it's about. And I'm asking you for your help, your donation, and every ounce of what you can do, and every dollar that you contribute is so worth it to help somebody down the road. So thank you. So let's look and see where we did. Today, we have raised over $220,000. In the last 24 hours alone, 300,000 plus. We are now at 7.26 on our way before the end of the year. The goal was 8.5 million. I know a lot of you out there still haven't had the opportunity to give, and I know I can trust all of you. So only because Dave and Craig know their job's not done, and Lee and Mike have years ahead as the foundation, leaders. Maybe we're going to raise the goal and see if we can hit 10 million by the end of the year. And I know this group can do it. And I know we'll be on the phones and we'll be working with everybody. And in all sincerity, you guys truly have left me speechless. The actions of so many of our associations and volunteers, the list of people that you read, it just feels like it's just part of so many people that involve. So really, from my heart, thank you all. As your neighbor, it's just inspiring to work with all of you. Your trust in us, I think, speaks volumes, because there's a lot to do. There's a lot more that we can do for somebody else. And most of all, thank you, and think about others tomorrow. It's a somber day. It's a difficult day for so many families that lost loved ones, not just on 9/11. There were so many people that died after, especially the first responders, because of sickness from being at that site for so long. Thankfully, that Dave is with us. But I know when he goes to the doctor each year for the checkup, it's first and foremost on his mind, okay, of all the people that aren't as healthy as he is. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's a wrap from us. All of you, it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.